What is going on, guys?
We're here.
We're
Yeah,
live
good job.
again.
Good job. We started the show. Well, Reed did a whole thing. He's like, I'm going to count. He's like, hey,
So rich.
so in the beginning of the show, I'm going to count you
You
in.
guys did it wrong again.
No.
I'm doing
So
this.
here's what I'd
and
like.
last week I did this again, and you guys are both looking down.
Here's what I'd like you to do, Reed. As you know, I have to figure everything out under the fucking sun for this show right up until we actually start the show. I'd like Reed to start the show from now on.
That would, you know what?
That'd be
That's
great.
a great idea.
That's called problem
Be like,
solving.
hey guys,
I'm not always going to
the
see this.
Broncos won.
You know, like the Chiefs, they should have gotten a
We'll
5
save
count.
that. We'll
to start.
save that.
Let's ride.
Hey, listen. 2 weeks ago, I thought I knew everything. Is all I'm saying in the NFL.
Oh my God.
2 weeks ago, I thought I knew everything. So with that, we'll start America's teams.
All right, America's teams. You know the drill, guys. I'm going to get this thing started with number one, America's team, the OG America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm looking ahead a little bit. I'm not even going to talk about that game against the Rams because they did what they're supposed to do. The Cowboys. Dak and CeeDee Lamb, awesome. The defense showed up in a big way. Micah Parsons, 8 pressures, 7 of which came in under 2.5 seconds. That's, I mean,
Yeah,
that's absurd.
he's incredible.
That's unfair. It's alien. But I'm saying this, looking ahead to San Francisco, we talked about, all the happenings between those two teams. They didn't take it personally. They should take it personally. Who's taking it personally now? You look ahead to the San Francisco-Dallas matchup
When is that?
in the playoffs.
Yeah, in the playoffs. Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So-
it's gonna be a lot different. Well, if you believe the Cowboys, here's the thing about the Cowboys, and we'll talk about it in the breakdowns. Like, I already know they're capable of this, of blowing out a team that has trouble in protection, that's not very explosive, and when they get on top of you, it's like Rampage Jackson.
And what's more American than being like, nobody beats us in our own backyard? Well,
Yeah.
the Cowboys, they just don't lose.
No, they don't
Jerry's
lose at
world.
home.
Number 2, the Jets. They find a way to squeak by. Zach Wilson pulls a rabbit out of a hat at the end of the game. But the big story for me is this team still being alive, this team finding a way to still be in it with the potential of Aaron Rodgers, who was dropping back and throwing passes before the football game. It's a perfect for Halloween. It's which character doesn't die? Is it Freddy Krueger? He attacks you in your nightmares.
Jason.
He attacks
Jason.
Well, whoever it is.
Jason.
That's
For
Aaron
you,
Rodgers.
it's Aaron Rodgers.
And it was really, really impressive. And now, people are moving the goalposts on this whole thing, right, Chris? At first, he's 40 years old. He'll never recover from an Achilles injury.
I'm not
and now
moving it.
6 weeks. I'm not talking about you.
No, I know.
But there are people that I listen to, and I listen to a lot of people. I'm in a lot of circles, and some people say, Aaron Rodgers, 40, he's never going to be able to come back off this Achilles.
I don't care how old you are.
And now he's doing it, and they're like, well, he got,
He's not
he didn't get
doing
the
it,
surgery
though.
that he was supposed to get.
He hasn't done it. Here's
But
it, like
seeing him
throwing
do
the
that
ball
is
in the
impressive.
Like, listen, I don't mean to. I wouldn't have anything to pour salt on if we weren't making such a big fucking deal out
America's
about
team, the
nothing.
number one thing to believe in is Aaron Rodgers coming back, on his white horse and taking this team into the playoffs. Which the reality of that is it probably not going to happen, but it's fun to think about.
Rapture, more likely.
America's team, number 2, the Jets. Number 3, on a serious note, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
Joe Burrow's back, baby. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow's back. And we talked about it all week, that 5-man front, all those rushers on the Cincinnati Bengals is a bad matchup for the Niners. And Trent Williams not being out there, it wasn't even talked about really. I was listening to the recap last night on Sunday Night Football. They talked about everything under the sun. They didn't mention my guy Trent Williams one time.
Yeah.
That's such a hole in that offense.
It's a big
Such a hole in that offense. If you've got a spear that doesn't have a sharp tip, you're not going to be able to bust down much shit. You're not going to get through much cartilage.
Yeah.
With Trent Williams, you got a diamond tip spear, and you can start any play the right way. You can cut off the backside of the play anyway, and you can shut down any rush. So number 3,
You can cut Trey Hendrickson's Achilles off.
that was bad. That was Fred Warner just stepped on it.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? It
I didn't mean to
look
pick
like
Trey because he
anything.
got hurt yesterday, but just if you got a diamond tip spear, you might want to use that.
You know what I'm saying? They say diamond is like the thing that cuts anything, right? Well,
Yeah.
Trent Williams can penetrate any defensive front, in my opinion, except for the Myles Garrett front. So number 4, Duke.
Wow, a hard right turn. We went NFL, Duke.
Yeah, Duke.
Why Duke?
They just landed the number 1 16-year-old recruit in the nation.
Okay.
He's a surefire number 1 NBA
In
prospect.
football?
This makes
oh,
me-
it's basketball.
This makes me.
Yeah, this is what they do. I mean,
It makes me upset because
We'll still beat 'em.
Now I can't cheer for this kid for at least a couple of years.
Well,
Right.
And I've been following him,
Right.
and
his
he's
name
a
is
really
Cooper
good player.
Flagg. He's a good player. Apparently, he's a really good player.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah.
number one player.
Yeah.
Shout out to his
All
twin
the
brother
players.
Ace.
He's got
Ace
a
Flagg.
twin
He'll
brother
be the
named
number one
Ace.
pick in 2025.
Such a
for
dude.
sure.
And I feel
guy.
like Cooper got the short end of the stick on the names. I think Ace is a really cool name. Maybe it should be like Ace and Joker or something like call signs. But
Yeah.
they went with Cooper
Yeah, Cooper.
instead.
Ace and Coop.
Yeah. No, I mean, Duke, they stacked these tall white guys up.
They thought he was going to be a baseball
It's
guy.
like-
End up in Cooperstown.
Yeah, you're saying Duke is America's team. I mean, I was thinking they landed a 16-year-old stud in football, but yeah, this is what they do. We'll still beat them in basketball.
So Duke,
Wahoo,
number
wah.
4.
Wahoo,
and then
wah.
the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
They go out there.
Let's
People are
ride.
saying it's going to be a fire sale. Patrick Mahomes owns this organization in a bigger way than Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Really, I mean, the winning streak is even more impressive. 16 games. I feel like Patrick never loses on the road. Patrick woke up with the flu, or whatever he had. He might have had diarrhea. We've all been there. It's not a good spot to be. But in the flu game, Scottie Pippen, he showed up. The rest of the Bills showed up, and they carried their guy around. And yeah, he was able to finish. And Patrick had an opportunity to finish there. Sky Moore dropped the football. We're going to talk more about
Yeah.
that, but I didn't see the team step up for him. This defense has been great, but Russell Wilson had a good
Isn't
It was
it
his week.
Isn't it crazy that like some kid at a preschool in Overland Park was like patient zero and cost the public millions of dollars? Because that's it's. I mean, isn't it
Could have been at
crazy?
the World Series,
Isn't it
too.
crazy? There was some snot-nosed kid that gave them. They should. Here's what I propose. Mahomes kids, they have their own school, okay? Like, because things like what happened to me yesterday don't happen if these kids are sequestered the way they should be.
What happened yesterday?
What happened yesterday? I had fucking Chiefs locked into 5 teasers, bet them live, the whole thing, dude. It was bad.
It was bad.
I'll
but
talk
they had
about that, but like
opportunities. So that's
patient
my
zero,
America's teams.
patient zero. When you really think about the way it made its way to Patrick Mahomes, we can avoid this.
They both went to the World Series though.
They
Pat and
both,
Travis.
yeah, that's true.
And apparently
But-
Patrick didn't feel well this week. I mean, I don't talk to him this often,
Yeah.
but apparently he didn't feel well this week. That's what I was listening
And they
to
still
on
went
the
to the
radio.
World Series.
And they were still out there at the
And-
World Series.
Well, people are making a big deal about the Texas Rangers game.
People
for
don't
Kelsey
understand how close
especially.
Kansas City is to Texas.
Well, people also
though.
don't understand how people will go places on Friday night sometimes.
And
Like, you know, I
have
think
the
I
means
think
to
Josh
go.
McCown like was coaching high school football.
Yes,
Like for a lot of his, I know he's not Patrick Mahomes, but
he was.
nobody's making a big deal about that because he's like, oh, what a great guy, he's coaching high school football. But you know, Mahomes and Kelsey, it could be at home playing Xbox.
But every week they're somewhere really cool, and to their credit, they usually follow through.
They
with a
usually win. It's going to become the new boat trip.
I
You know,
mean-
when Odell and them, we talked about that with Victor Cruz on this show, when they went down to Miami, the bye week before the playoffs. They're all in the boat in Tim's.
What about Russell? You gotta show him some love. What a week for him.
Oh,
He
what a
rented out
week.
rented out the Waffle House for his wife's birthday,
Yeah,
and then
that's
you
pretty
get a
great.
big win like that.
It's pretty great. He was feeling it. I saw him at the podium after the game. He sounded like Russ again.
Let's go.
I mean, he
love
sounded like he had an earpiece and he was at the TED Talk. You know, he was just projecting. He just sounded like Russ. Okay.
You go out and beat the Chiefs, though. I mean, you got to feel great.
You got to feel good.
in a
He-
game where it's like, this is only going to showcase the
He had
players
a
that will be
jersey
traded
on
tonight.
He had his eye black still perfectly on his face, some Gatorade, some
The
product
Abercrombie eye
placement.
black.
Anyways, my America's teams, number one, low pressure systems. There is snow on the horizon, guys. And I know we just got a couple dustings this weekend, but just the thought of it got me excited. It's football weather. It started in Colorado with the Air Force Colorado State game. And by the way, Colorado State fans got in trouble because they were throwing snowballs at our servicemen and women. Well, just the men. But they were throwing snowballs at the Air Force guys on the fucking sideline. And I think that's over the line. Okay? But we were supposed to get snow in Denver.
can't
We were supposed to get
return
yeah, they can't. There's not from down there.
Yes.
You know? So we were supposed to get snow in Denver and we didn't get it. We just got cold weather. But I am ready for some snow. So low pressure systems working their way in
We
to
got
the
lied
equation
to
here.
in Denver.
We got lied to.
I
But
did a
it's-
whole promo on CBS about Patrick has a childlike mentality. He can't wait to play in this game
Yeah.
in the snow. And then I go to watch, and I'm like,
I'm seeing them running around.
somebody's fired.
Part of the reason I bet the Broncos because people ask like how, or part of the reason I bet the Chiefs. I wish I bet the Broncos, but the reason that like people ask snow with totals with like how you play and who's asking me anything. I just lost multiple sectionals yesterday fucking Restoration Hardware, big cart out the door.
Moment of silence.
Okay, so yeah, so anyways, we're all done with outdoor furniture, Mag, at our new house. Like we just don't have a choice. But the snow doesn't affect totals as much as wind. Rain doesn't affect totals as much as wind. But what I do look at is like in a situation with inclement weather or some kind of outside the box factor, I look at the quarterback and the coach. And in this game, I'm looking at, and Russell's obviously borderline Hall of Fame, depending on how you weight his second chapter. Sean Payton, great coach. But I thought Kansas City, if it was snowing, anyways, that ship has sailed. I was going to put the Denver Broncos in here, Kyle. We'll wait to talk about them in a second. Tennessee Titans, you could put them in there with those beautiful Oilers uniforms. People are making a big deal about the
Stolen
creamsicles.
uniforms,
The
very
Kelly
American.
Green, very American. Yeah, this is ours.
Stolen.
Yeah.
It's ours now.
But unlike America, litigation actually can take down the house of cards, which is that, like, I don't think the Oilers are going to be able to, or the Titans are going to be able to wear these things again because somebody served them some papers. So, but Tennessee, like getting Will Levis, we'll talk about that, deep shots, the whole thing. I mean, it was
Awesome.
like, it was a revelation. Okay, lastly, Las Vegas for two reasons. Las Vegas Raiders, because Chase Long is playing the Las Vegas Raiders tonight, catching as many points as possible. Okay. And Las Vegas as an entity, really bending me over yesterday. Just like, it made me like it. Like it was sick. It was twisted. I just kept losing. And I'll take you through. I mean, whether it was the under in Atlanta, Tennessee, I didn't have in the cards that Heineke was going to play. Okay, it's unfair. Levis, I didn't know he was going to play. It's unfair. I didn't know he was going to play so well. It's unfair. The Chiefs thing, Patrick Mahomes had the flu. But what do? I go chase with the Bears, Kyle. And I put a ton of money on the Bears. I told you how much money I put on the Bears last night. Wow. I should have consulted you. I don't know what you would have said.
I would have said you're an idiot.
Well, Big Cat was like, oh, we're playing loose. I texted him and Ryan Rosillo at 10 o'clock at night.
Will Compton hit me with a parlay that I was like, yeah, I gave him the thumbs up emoji on it, but I didn't bet it. He was like, go in on this with me, and I gave him the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Never
I'm
bet
with
it.
you, buddy.
He tweeted his receipt, and I was like, God,
I don't know that Big Cat was in it with me, but I was in it as soon as I looked at my total for the day. And Kyle, when I tell you, I was definitely on the wrong side of this bet, but I put a ton on the Bears plus 10, and I put like a moderate amount, also a ton, on the Bears and a teaser. You were asking how a teaser works. You manipulate the line in two games and both have to hit. So you move the line 6 points for two teams. So
distributed between the two games.
So basically, I took the Bears plus 16, okay, and then I rolled it over into tonight, and I was going to take the Lions and a pick 'em. So like if those two games hit. You manipulate the lines, you get a. So I'm thinking, even if the Bears don't cover for some crazy reason, the teaser will hit. And at the end of that game, fucking Matt Eberflus has a chance to go down 16 after that touchdown, and he goes for 2. And whether it was the Mooney touchdown at the beginning, which was a touchdown, nobody touched him, or the guy dropping the ball in the end zone, or fucking Donald Parham looking like Antonio Gates for the entirety of the game. Josh Palmer goes down there like, I think we'll throw it to the fucking rookie. Here was the worst thing. At the end of the game, I was still alive for a push. Okay, they're down 16. They're down 17. I'm alive for a push. They go onside kick.
How about that onside?
I have never seen an onside kick hang around as long as that onside kick. Not to mention Matt Eberflus, who knows you need 2 scores to win this game. Couple scores. You need multiple scores, right? Kicks the onside kick and then doesn't call timeouts. Just lets the game end. You would have had to do that 2-3 times. So everything went, I mean, right down to, I don't know if you saw the intentional grounding that they didn't call on Justin Herbert. It was just a comedy of errors, and I was fucking buried. Now, I woke up this morning. I saw my daughter, who's 4 months old, on the way out the door, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, this is your college fund. And like I said, 2 weeks ago, I thought I knew everything, but when I walked out the door this morning, I might as well have been that baby. I don't know a fucking thing about the NFL.
There's a lot of good
or
community
gambling
colleges
right now
in this area.
Do what? Yeah,
I went to a
community,
few of them.
Piedmont. So anyways, Las Vegas, the Raiders, and the city as a whole, America's teams. All right, let's get in Chiefs Broncos, Kyle.
Yes.
All right, so like first off, let's talk about the streak, right? Because we're going to start with the team that won the game, right? As much as we're going to talk about Kansas City's problems. This is a happy day for Broncos fans. I mean, this streak was a long time. 2015, Kyle, the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs. And I do think the Chiefs are a little bit of a victim of their own dominance inside division because now we're like, oh, what's wrong with the Broncos? You know, like most teams don't have a streak like this to lose, 7 years in or whatever it is. So there's that. And Kyle, I looked up our streaks. Kyle, you went 0-5 to start against the Packers, 2-9 career. I went 4-13 career versus Seattle, including 7 straight in Seattle and San Francisco. So I know what it's like to be on the wrong end of a streak. You know what it's like to be on the wrong end of a streak. And if you listen to Broncos players and coaches, they tried to make it not seem like it was something that was factoring in. Because a lot of these players were not there for the entirety of the streak. But for somebody like Justin Simmons or guys that have been there a while, it has to mean something. So
Garrett Bowles
congratulations.
and Justin, they were fired up.
2000
They were the 2 longest tenured Broncos. They'd never beat.
Yeah,
past
and
Mahomes.
for me, it was like when we finally beat Seattle on the road, it was kind of bittersweet because I knew I was getting cut soon. I was like coming off IR and not playing that well. And, there was this moment I remember watching us celebrate on the field, and I was like, damn, this is a sick joke. We finally beat them, and I'm gone. 2015, Lil Jordan Humphrey was tiny Jordan Humphrey in 2015. Like, think of just how much has changed in that 8-year span. And I just hats off to them. Sean Payton, this was like a dream realized for them. He sounded like Bill Parcells in the fucking press conference after the game, because this was a Parcells type win. And for Vance Joseph, a guy that was dead, dude, he was dead 2-3 weeks ago. I heard rumors that they were going to fire him before the Chiefs game. Okay, and I blame this partially on the fact that we were on the river floating in a pumpkin. I didn't get to see that game. I don't know. I would have bet the fucking Chiefs. But congratulations to Vance Joseph and those guys. Undertaker.gif for him. He's alive. And more than anything, Kyle, and we'll get to the Chiefs, but I felt like this was a Seattle Russell Wilson win.
I mean, 100%. He wasn't asked to throw the ball a million times.
Nope.
What did he throw the ball? 20 times? All I know is that this is what happened on the offensive side of the Broncos. They carried the ball 40 times for 153 yards. Doesn't matter the outcome of the run. Keep pressing that button. Don't ask Madden. Pick the formation. Call the run. Call it, run it, block it up, and we're going to wear these guys out.
And that's Seattle, dude. Like, I can't tell you how many times over that streak I went up there, and they just stick with the run game. Now, they got a lot of movement because the interior defensive line guys got moved, but more than anything, doubles weren't coming off. Nick Bolton is a big, big issue for them, and they're not going to have him for a couple more weeks. But it was just like in Seattle. They just stick with the run game. They get
2 months.
They get turnovers.
3 months.
Yeah, they get 2, 3.
He'll be back for the divisional.
Oh, really?
He'll
It's
be
that
back
long.
for the wild card.
Well, this is a big issue for them because in the run game against a team like this, now granted, they're built to run the ball, stay on doubles, big group. Sean Payton, we talked about personnel, like grabbing guys who are physical in the run game, even if they don't protect well. But the Russell Wilson thing, the reason it reminded me of Seattle was you had the shots that ended in penalties. Like Snead had a tough day against Sutton. You had Judy, multiple shots in the first half. In fact, I think they're trying to trade him. They tried to get him the ball so many times. But it was like one of those games where they just stay with the run. They got their explosives, a lot of them flags, and they also got the turnovers. And at one point, time possession was 36-19. So I think one of the biggest sneaky things that Denver did was they took something from the LA game. They went tempo. They got up to the line. They ID'd the Kansas City defense. They made checks, and they went accordingly. So I thought this was a really great game plan from them, and kind of a Sean Payton type win. That's the way he wants to look.
And conversely, the Broncos did everything right, but they did almost everything right. Coming out of the locker room to start the second half, you talked about the time of possession and stuff, but I mean, 8.5 minutes, draining the clock. The Chiefs had 3 possessions, excluding the final tick that they had, but they get all the way down the field. They go to kick the field goal. Justin Reed blocks it.
Yeah.
They didn't catch him for offsides.
Yep.
The Chiefs are still around. You're still looking over your shoulder
Yep.
if you're the Broncos. We've done all this stuff right the first half. We got it started in the third quarter the right way. We came out of the locker room with the right mindset. Oh my God, they're still around. Well, then you look up, 6.5 minutes left, and the Chiefs, it's a 2-possession game. Chiefs are driving down the field. Mahomes, 4th and 2. He says, fuck the sticks.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
going for the score.
I was hoping he went
He
to the
goes to
stick.
Sky Moore. Sky Moore can't make the catch, man. And I hate to look back, but Pickens could have been the guy.
We talked about that.
And that hurts a little bit. And I mean, they've gotten really lucky with the guys they have drafted, and they've hit on a ton of draft picks with the Chiefs. So I don't want to berate them for that. But Sky Moore, you get an opportunity. This is Mahomes. This could be another flu game. This is the flu game. Go make the catch. Your defense could make a stop, and then you got Patrick in a 2-minute situation.
And a lot of people are like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? What's wrong with Patrick Mahomes? Listen, like, this is the hand that he was dealt this year where he's going to be throwing to Rashee Rice and MVS and those guys, and, like, they have to go get Hardman. And week to week, when you throw the ball, like 2 weeks ago when they played Denver, it was the second lowest air yards of attempt of his career. So, like, Denver playing zone, not blitzing him, making him be patient, that stuff definitely works. But what doesn't work for the Chiefs is, you had multiple issues in plus territory. Even in the first half, your field position sucked. So you had the long punt return midfield, right? You had MVS fumble. That could be 3 points. Sack fumble, that could be 3 points. Muff punt, that's 7 points, right? Sky Moore drop in the end zone, you mentioned 7 points. So they make the plays that they're supposed to make. Nobody's talking about what's wrong with the Chiefs.
That's how the Chiefs have tended to win.
Yes,
they
exactly.
come from behind.
So I'm not, like some people who are fans of other teams and quarterbacks will say, you're giving Patrick Mahomes more leeway. Well, no shit. He's the best guy in the league, okay? And Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in the history of the game. So I am not worried about them. But the magic wasn't there in the red zone. You had guys blowing up shovel passes. They run like a speed option counter. They blow that up. Rashee Rice, another mistake. Like you talk about execution on a screen in the red zone where they end up kicking a field goal, doesn't get a guy blocked. Like just that one little thing. And so I think that's the story of the game is the execution. They in the second half, you look up at one point with 10 minutes to go in the game. Patrick's had 7 snaps.
Yeah.
So perfect execution by Denver.
Take the best
of the
player
game
out of the
plan.
game.
Yes. Perfect execution by Denver. I want to shout them out. The rushers, Zach Allen's like a baby JJ
The rushers
Watt.
got after.
Yesterday he was.
The rushers got after the tackles.
Yes.
And I'll say this: when the tackles got beat, it was really costly because not only did they get beaten, the quarterback got hit, but it was during Pat's throwing motion. Pat took 2 arm chops during his throw, and as you know, if one of these guys gets hit on the finger, it's not good. We see Herbert's game affected drastically, at least in terms of pre-snap with the snapping action, and that's on his offhand. If Patrick gets a finger, fuck.
And I'll say
things get real bleak.
I'll say that I want to shout out Benito and Browning, especially Browning, who is a guy I've been in love with. He started as an off-ball linebacker. They moved him on the ball, and he's just like, to me, he's got that Von Miller type quickness. Now, he's working in some speed to power and that sort of thing. He's a little light in the ass, but I love watching those guys rush. So a lot of positives.
This
for
was
Denver.
his second game back this season.
He's got 3 sacks.
It was crazy. He blew up the shovel pass early. He had the strip sack, and he got the final sack on Mahomes and forced the deep interception.
So the questions coming out of this game. Number 1, do the Chiefs make a move at the deadline for somebody at wide receiver? Number 2, is Taylor Swift coming to Germany? Because, as you heard Kevin Harlan allude to twice via the graphic, Kelsey's production is cut in half without Taylor Swift at the game.
I think her tour lines up for when they're out there. So
I really hope
she
so.
might be out there.
Wow.
I really hope so. Now, the most important
Thank you, Nate,
question.
for knowing that.
Really good intel.
Her tour lines up.
Really good intel. The question of going to get a receiver. I know this isn't Brett Veach's style, but you got to do it. I don't know who's out there that you can actually afford. It's not like a Mike Evans, but this is not something you want to play with fire with every week, because these are the games that, listen, they could still, a team built like this with Patrick Mahomes and a defense like this could go 13-4. But when you get in the playoffs, if you have one game where you stink it up or somebody has a good game plan,
What about Mike Evans?
He's too expensive, I think.
How about Antonio Brown?
How about DJ Moore?
No, they'll never let DJ Moore go. Seriously, who would you go for?
I don't know. Who's on the block? No.
So depending on what happens tonight, say you're the Raiders, you'd said you didn't want to get rid of Devontae Adams.
Too expensive, right?
How about Hunter Renfrow?
I love Renfrow. And we've tossed that around before because it's like people forgot he exists. The guy can really play, and I think they have a speed guy, right? Yep. They could use some possession guys.
He'd be a perfect possession guy next to Kelsey. You'd
Yeah.
have two people you'd have to key in on it as the defense.
Zone beaters.
Yep, no question, because that's what they're getting. And anyways, like if we're talking about the teams at the top of the AFC, it's a good time to talk about the Miami Dolphins because, we talk about all the teams at the top of the AFC right now, and if you look at them, there's a bunch of them stacked up with 2 losses. The Jacksonville Jaguars, by the way, and we'll get to them in a little bit, have as easy a schedule as any of those teams coming down the stretch. But Miami, with a big in-division win, 31-17, hosting the Patriots. And I thought this was a good spot for the Pats. The backdoor cover was there. Like, it was there multiple times. That moment of truth for them came in the first half, in my opinion, when they're down 10-7, and the Dolphins getting 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14. They set up multiple 4th and shorts, and at that point, like 4th and short is automatic for this offense. And so, even in the end zone, they get a PI and a second chance. At 17-7, that's not how that game was scripted. And for Mac Jones, throwing another pick, by the way, the Jalen Ramsey effect, throwing to the left side, 4 of 7, 5 yards and a pick. Jalen Ramsey is back. Throwing at him in the red zone. It's like the first time they played, they go at Xavier Howard in the red zone, and it's a pick. I don't know what that decision is, but Tua is 6-0 against Bill. Bill loves Bama guys. I wonder if every time he plays him, he's like, I just got the wrong one. Mac kind of in this thing, but again, 2 turnovers. They forced him in the first half. They had opportunities, a pick, a fumble, but just not enough. And I think the interesting thing about the Dolphins is they're playing on offense right now left-handed with a bunch of guys down. Kendall Lamb yesterday, Hunt, Wins on IR. Connor Williams didn't play. A-Chain's still out. But on defense, they're getting healthier. Like Jalen Ramsey's going to come back. Javon Holland's going to be back. You're going to see them on the field at the same time. And getting Phillips back a couple weeks ago, I've talked about him as an elite pass rusher. He really helps.
He's going to be big trouble for the Chiefs next week in
big
Germany.
trouble.
Big trouble in little Germany.
Yeah, big trouble in little Germany. And Phillips adds a dimension for them.
And thank God
it's funny.
that size, right?
They go out and get Chubb, and you're like, he's got to be the guy. But Phillips is the guy. And can the defense get healthy enough and good enough to where they kind of flip a little bit and play complementary football the other way? Well, the offense at times is struggling because they didn't struggle yesterday, but when you play a top defense with that many guys out, Kansas City this week, I think it's interesting that Kansas City are laying 2.5 points in Germany. I would have thought the way the public thinks about things, like how can you get that Kansas City game out of your head? Miami is a very public team. Did the Philly game do so much, that the script is flipped the way bettors are thinking about this game? But Kansas City, I think, is probably favored because of the injuries up front to Miami. And that's really interesting. It's a tough defense to play, the Spags defense, when you have injuries up front. So that's going to be an incredible game. Speaking of Week 9, we've got a morning game that's out of this world. We have an afternoon game that's out of this world. And then we have a night game that's out of this world. You have Cincy and Buffalo at night. You have Miami and Kansas City in the morning. You got the NFC East bloodbath.
That's my gripe.
Football.
That's my gripe, guys. And I know people enjoy waking up and eating cereal
I
and
love
watching football.
I love it.
I'm in the studio at CBS Sports in Manhattan.
I got to say, the
5:40.
NFL doesn't care about your demo.
But hear me out.
Boo-hoo,
Yeah.
Kyle.
8 a.m. is when I start work.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. You're going to miss
No,
that
that
game.
9:30, bro. When you wake up,
There isn't a
that
game I
shit's
want to watch.
If you're
other
not
than the Dolphins and the
if
Chiefs.
you're not working in a studio on Sunday, I love the morning games.
Me too,
I
it's
love
elite.
waking up, and also there's the if you win a bet in the morning, your Sunday is going to be great.
Oh, it makes
So I got to
it so
nail
much
this one.
better.
I got to nail this one,
Bro, and then you order Grubhub the night before, bro, so it's already on the way when you
and
wake
don't
up.
tip.
That's my gripe.
Okay. Anyways, Dolphins, absolutely scary team, and they're right up at the top of the AFC right
Tua
now.
threw a deep ball that was a deep ball yesterday.
He did.
Tua set his feet on the 50, and launched a ball into the
They
end
went
zone.
40-some
MVP.
yards.
And
Yeah.
nobody had to slow down to
MVP.
catch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And he
MVP.
all play action yesterday. Not all,
Ton
but he
of
had
play action.
his highest 38.8%.
I think he was like 13 to 18.
14 to
He
18
play,
for
play
one.
action, really
Yep.
170 yards, something like that. He really played well yesterday. You take the pick away and the fumble, I'm taking that away from Mahomes.
Yeah.
I thought he played well. Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, okay? Because if you're talking about teams at the top of the AFC, I mentioned Jacksonville. Jacksonville is okay. You come out of that game yesterday, it's sloppy, 20-10. They cover the whole thing. My takeaway from this game might surprise you. My takeaway is that Jacksonville's really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why Jacksonville's really good? Number one, they're road warriors. They've won 7 straight on the road. They went to London 2 weeks in a row. They went to New Orleans. They go into Pittsburgh where you're going to meet the final boss of home dogs, and that's Mike Tomlin. And they got it done. And they overcame 3 red zone, gold zone type turnovers that were just, Pittsburgh caused them, but they were head scratchers. So, like, to overcome all that in the elements on the road, they've won a bunch of different kinds of times this year, bunch of different ways. I think we got into that spot where they lost to Kansas City, and then they got boat raced by Houston, and people kind of wrote them off. This team, we said it before the beginning of the season, if you're betting win totals and you want to look at one team that could go 5 games over their win total, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And when you look at their schedule the rest of the way, they really, it lines up nicely for them to have a shot at home field advantage. So I thought Trevor played well. The bad pick in the end zone, I don't know what the fuck he's doing there. But when you take that out of it and you look at the rest of the game, he did everything he had to do to win this game. They went to Ridley a bunch, 7 times in the first half by my count. ETN in the pass game, I thought the wheel they hit was great. It was a tendency breaker. People talked about that. And maybe if Minka's in the game, that doesn't happen. But the safety undercutting that route, that was it. And so, like going to Ingram at the end of the game, that big drive with 9 minutes to go, they get 1st and 20. So, like, these are drives you're not supposed to finish. They hit Ingram. They hit Ingram again. I just really liked what I saw from the offense, and the defense held up. Josh Allen doesn't get talked about enough as a DPOY type candidate, but he's stacking them up. 6 pressures, 2 sacks yesterday. I think when he came out of Kentucky, I just loved his frame and the physicality that he plays with. When you think about a well-rounded player, he's that guy. And Trayvon Walker had a sack. So Jacksonville looked really good, and I thought Pittsburgh's defense stood up all day. Quan, forced fumble, kept him in the game. Huge pick in the end zone. Tank Bigsby fumble. They got a stop on 3rd and 2 in the red zone. TJ Watt, huge sack with 10 minutes to go. Like that, these are the plays that you have to make, and they made them all. They just couldn't pull it out. We'll talk about the offense in a second. But I thought the defense played great. It's easy to blame Matt Canada, right? Every week it's just Matt Canada's fault. How about fucking executing, okay? Matt Canada schemed that ball up to Deontay Johnson the first couple plays of the game.
Right.
It would have had you in plus territory at the 40. Okay, Deontay Johnson slipping out of his route or slipping in the end zone or Kenny Pickett missing that throw is not on Matt Canada. So the run game sucks. I'd like to see more Warren. I'd like to see more Austin. They got him involved at the end of the half. The end of the half field goal stuff, that's a killer.
What happened to Najee Harris?
I don't know I don't think anything happened to him.
Football happened.
I just don't think I don't see him as a guy like when you have a big hole, he's not going to hit it fast. When you have a small hole, I don't know that he's the type of guy that's so do I like Najee Harris? Yeah, I like him, but he's definitely not the right fit for this kind of offense in my opinion. And I do think they get an injection when Warren comes in the game.
And with Pickett being not perfectly in sync with his group on the outside, and then obviously coming out of the game, I see Trubisky come in. Every time he comes in, he injects a little bit of life into this offense. He really does. If you watch his appearances, he comes in, hits the checkdowns, takes what the defense gives him, but then he gets a little bit of confidence.
And then he
wants to throw the ball. He wants to throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
He wants to throw the ball down the field.
He's like me gambling.
You can't blame him. It's Chase.
Yeah.
He's got a little chase to him.
He's got a little chase to
But
him.
he's got moxie. I mean, when he comes in, people are like, "Oh, here's the offense."
Well,
and then it's like, "Whoa."
Well, here's the deal. And I saw him throw the ball across his body, rolling left, and it worked out and that sort of thing. He does have
moxie.
If he has to play this Thursday, he's got a little bit of athletic ability. I'd get some QB run game involved in the conversation. They say Mike Tomlin says the door is ajar for Kenny Pickett to walk through it. Now, I don't know if that's a challenge to Kenny Pickett, like how tough are you because there's no structural damage. When you say that early in the week, it kind of puts it on the player. And
Perfect terminology.
That's really. I didn't realize that he said that.
Yeah,
that's something.
It's something.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. And you'd think you would play Tennessee a little bit in the press conference game where you're like, I'm not sure who's going to start, but like Tomlin's like, I think he could start.
Yeah.
Now, it's still not a sure thing, and maybe they're throwing off the scent a little bit, but he got blasted. And he's a tough kid. I think if he could have come back in, he would have, but you end up dealing with the hand you're dealt. That's why I don't want to put the blame on Matt Canada in this instance. I think it's all about execution for them.
That was the Jaguars' 6th win in the last 7 trips to Pittsburgh.
Dude,
This is surprising.
They're the trend breaker.
Is that a reflection of Trevor Lawrence and the leadership in the locker room, Chris, or is that a reflection of their head guy?
I think it's a reflection of the head guy. Now, I don't know that all 7 of them haven't been Doug, but just the way they play, I think Doug's fingerprints are all over his team. I do. And one thing that Doug's fingerprints, like if you look at Doug's DNA, where he came from Philly, and our Super Bowl run, you guys had to prepare for us the year after. Like we're 7 deep rushing. Like there's guys coming off the bench that like can really rush. And in Jacksonville, there's one guy you're afraid of, like one guy. Okay. And I don't mean to discount the other guys, but like if you're serious about making a run, it's not a death sentence for Trayvon Walker to go get a 3rd rusher or a 2nd rusher. Like let this kid develop. But right now, the Hutchinson thing, I'm sure they're already salty about it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes coaches and GMs don't want to admit when they're wrong by making a move, right, especially this early. But what's more important, Trayvon's development or you trying to win a Super Bowl this year? I would go snag somebody. We've said that. Speaking of another team that could use a little bit more pass rush, San Francisco 49ers, and I cannot believe we're saying this, but they could. And I want to make this about Cincy first off.
I mean, that's what it was all about, Cincy.
It's the best bit in sports. Oh, we're bad.
But not for me.
Call an ambulance, but not for Joe Burrow. They're playing possum with the best of them, Kyle. I will never get fooled again by this team in the first month of the season. Now, this is a good matchup for them because if you look at San Francisco, we were talking about this earlier. If your 3rd receiver is better than the 3rd corner, that's a big advantage for you. And I think San Francisco, having the guys that they have in the secondary right now and not playing up to it and not rushing very well, like it was a recipe for disaster. And like right off the bat, Burrow threw 19 straight completions. Okay, that happened basically yesterday to the Bears. Thank you very much. I saw that. And the Eagles secondary. Okay, so like you talk about a beleaguered secondary with their 8th combo, and then you've got the Bears who are the Bears. Okay. But the San Francisco 49ers, this team that, for a while we just thought like defense, giving up that many easy completions, it's a lot of different things. Number one, I think Joe Burrow can now drive the ball. So like he's healthier, he can extend plays. You saw more balls outside the numbers. Like when you look at his passing chart now, we complained about this earlier in the season, those deep outs, the things he really excels at. But as the down goes on, and if nobody but Nick Bosa is winning, and Nick Bosa was winning, he had 9 pressures in the first half. So I don't want to hear this, he ain't worth the money, all that stuff. Like I've been a rusher that made a lot of money before, not as much as him. And I know sometimes when people jump on those numbers, but he had 9 pressures, 8 of 9 on Orlando in the first half. Somebody else has to win. And when nobody else wins and you sit in that soft zone, as time goes on with Joe Burrow back there in the pocket, he is really good at fucking with people's eyes.
I didn't realize he had 8 on Orlando.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and looking people off and playing that high-low game with Mixon in the flat and somebody in the middle of the field at the intermediate level. He did that really well yesterday, and as downs get extended because the pass rush isn't there, he's going to pick you apart.
Look.
And they ran the ball. I thought it was a great game plan.
Thank you.
Trap, fucking use their aggressiveness
the league in
against
shotgun, everything.
Yeah.
Going into week 6, and we talked about it here. They were like 92% from shotgun, which led the league. It was disgusting. If you're an offensive lineman, you kind of like it because you spread them out and you get less guys in the box. But at the same time, you want to be able to pin your ears back and go block fuckers.
Right.
That's why you get a guy like Orlando Brown, because you want him to be able to put his feet in the ground and put those big old hips on somebody in the double teams. And that's what they did. They allowed Joe Mixon to get out of the dot, which I thought was really beneficial to his style, because when we see him out of the gun, what's the first step you have to do as a running back when you're in the gun, Chris? Almost sidestep to go get the ball.
Nothing's downhill.
Instead of saying, get in your stance and get ready to sprint at the B or
That's
the
why I
C
like the
gap.
pistol.
The pistol's great.
Yeah.
Pistol's great, but that's an even further run.
Yeah.
They probably had to do it those first
Imagine
5
the
weeks
same
'cause
distance
Burrow's
run, but
leg.
closer.
Yeah. I think it might have been health related. And I don't know, looking at the shotgun under center splits yesterday, how much it changed. But
They give him an opportunity to run downhill, he's going to do it. They ask questions about the run game, and I think there's your solution right there. Let Joe Mixon be aggressive. Let the offensive line find a rhythm. But then, to your point, I mean, Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow.
yeah,
We thought they were dead. We thought he was cooked. His calf was cooked. He was healthy. He was scrambling. He was extending plays with his legs, and not just doing so out of panic or fear, but out of creativity to get the play extended.
Exactly.
And to let his better receivers go make plays on the football.
Exactly.
Which is what we've seen Kansas City do for years.
yeah.
But they don't have the guys to go make plays.
And Cincy has the guys. If the offensive line can protect, and I thought, like, all things considered, they did a good job yesterday. But I look at this San Francisco defensive line, and, you know, like I said earlier, somebody has to win, all that stuff. We could put it all on the defense. I put it on the whole team, man. You know, like, it's so easy in sports media to boil something down to one thing and try to make that your hot take. But this isn't a football team that for years now has enjoyed complementary football. And I don't think either side of the ball knew how good they had it, right? Like, the defense didn't know how good they had it. Long sustained drives, scoring, leads. The offense didn't know how good they had it because the defense was humming. Now you've got holes in the back end. The pass rush isn't getting home. And offensively, you have injuries. So if it's Deebo Samuel, the middle of the field is going to be tougher. If it's Trent Williams, we talked about this, Kyle. Trent Williams in the run game for them, like, everything starts with being able to get on edges, on the perimeter, get people moving sideways. If you take that away, that's no bueno. And then in the pass rush, like, he's missed. I mean, like, Purdy right now, he's making mistakes in the fourth quarter of games. He's making mistakes, whether it's 17-7 throwing that pick. After as much as the Bengals jumped you at home, you have an opportunity late in that game. You throw a pick, 17-7. You get the ball back. I can't remember which one came first, but at the end of the third, you're in the red zone, or the beginning of the fourth, you're in the red zone, and you don't give on a handoff that's a walk-in touchdown. Then you throw another pick on the same play. So the mistakes compound, and he's made these mistakes, whether the mistakes last 2 weeks. I don't know where he's throwing those balls against Minnesota, against Cleveland, making mistakes late in that game. So, you know, when a couple of weeks ago, y'all wanted to burn me at the stake because I said, hey, Purdy's a good quarterback. I like him, but I'm not ready to put him in that elite category. Certainly not the elite category, but I'm not putting him in the top 8, you know, just off of everything he's done so far, and he's been really good. Quarterbacks are entitled to bad spells, but when the bad spells coincide with a difference with a big change in personnel, like, I look at it as like a really good quarterback can overcome some of this stuff. And I think some of it, the concussion definitely factored in. He hit his head hard yesterday and grabbed his head afterwards.
He should have been out.
He should have been out
Where's
of that game.
Where's the UNC?
I don't know.
Where's the UNC, bro?
I don't know.
We talked about this ad nauseum, didn't we?
What is that acronym for?
It's the unaffiliated neurotrauma consultant.
That's really good, Kyle.
And they're available at all times. They're supposed to be Truman
supposed to
Show,
be.
eye in the sky. And
They're
I mean,
not.
it's clear. It's fucking prime time. The quarterback, the guy who was just concussed this past week, goes down, whiplash, hits the back of his head, grabs his helmet. Clear indicator that there was a trauma on the play.
Yeah.
Get him out.
Yeah,
Well,
where are you, Ed Harris? You know, like, you talk about the Truman Show. Ed Harris let Jim Carrey get out. The Ed Harris in the Bay, he's watching Purdy. He's not watching Purdy.
But even more for player safety, like, shouldn't it not be allowed that only on Saturday he was cleared?
That's what I'm saying. It was
Like, how-
questionable,
it's a
but I'm going to
little
let it
close.
pass that he played. I'm going to trust that they went through the right hoops to
Exactly.
get him there, Nate.
So, like, how does he get cleared on Saturday?
don't know.
And then, hey, we can let you
I never
play.
had a concussion. I don't know how this works.
But he did it again. That's
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah.
He hit his head again. He re-aggravated. America saw it. But the UNC, the one guy getting paid
to see it, doesn't
an
see it.
exorbitant amount of money, didn't see it.
Yeah, no. I don't know how much they're making. It might be exorbitant, but here's the thing.
He's a neuro.
Fucking those neuro
doctor.
guys make a lot of money.
Fuck.
So they lost the NFC West lead. Okay, that's a big deal. And then San Francisco, interesting trend, 13-19 in October games with Shanahan since 2017. So maybe a trend that, like, I can't explain, but something that they turned the page here. Listen, I'm not going to do the overreaction thing where 3 weeks ago we thought they were the Super Bowl favorite after they beat Dallas. Like, and now we're just saying they're trash. They're not trash. That same team's in there, but I didn't realize how much they needed all their pieces, and they just got to get healthy.
They still have better odds than the Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
That's pretty interesting.
That's wild to me.
Speaking of the Eagles,
Actually, let's hear a message from our sponsor.
oh yeah,
Cash App first.
fuck,
Oh,
I
wow.
can't forget the sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Cash App, the all-in-one app for spending, sending, and setting easy-to-track savings goals with multiple tools for saving, spending, and sending. Cash App is an all-in-one way to stay in control of your money. Whether I need to send money to my golf buddies, I don't have any, send a Cash App, pay out to the Greenlight locals, or settle a bet, I can always count on Cash App. With security boosts, discounts, a free-to-order debit card, and overdraft fees, Cash App is like a BFF for your money. Cash App, the exclusive financial services partner of Greenlight. Download it in the App Store or Google Play to see why it's the #1 finance app in the U.S. App Store. Guys, another ad read for Adderall. With Adderall, I can do every ad read seamlessly. Anyways, Eagles. Talk about the Eagles. You like it.
You're an Eagles guy. Why don't you tell me what you thought about the Eagles' record-breaking A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts just chucking the fucking ball all over the
Kyle.
place like he's playing in my Madden franchise?
Kyle, I'm tired. Can we stop with the
Limping
Jalen?
all
Can we
around?
stop with the Jalen Hurts is mid talk?
He's
Okay.
not mid, but he's hurt.
He's hurt. He's obviously hurt. Okay. But I'll start this. Like, the Commanders are that team in division for them that every time you play them, it's just going to be a motherfucker.
Dogfight.
The sample size is big enough now that I just know when they play the Commanders, hold on to your ass if you're betting the Eagles or if you're pulling for the Eagles, because this game's going to be tight. They're like Big 12 games, whether it was Heineke in primetime last year or Howell earlier this year or now this game. But here's the interesting thing. And by the way, offensive line reshuffle for Washington. They actually played pretty well on the surface. Chris Paul went from center to guard. Chris Paul should be a guard. Okay.
100%.
He's
And
got,
he has a brother, Cliff, that should be maybe the other guard.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That was a basketball joke for anybody listening.
State Farm.
Tyler Larson, it
Pay
was
us.
layers,
Pay
bro.
us.
Tyler Larson stepped up at center with Nick Gates out. But, like, here's the thing. I want to say this first. Eric Bieniemy, it's been this big mystery. Like, is he head coaching material? Like, what was his effect in Kansas City, the whole thing? I think he had an effect.
Yeah.
I think, like, we thought Washington a month in the season, we're like, oh, the screen game's really good. Like, this is a Bieniemy thing. He brought it from Kansas City. He might have also brought some wrinkles that he used to get after the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And then in week whatever it was, the first time they played the Commies. And then again. So, like, I don't want to understate Eric Bieniemy's effect on this offense. There is only one guy who's the common denominator between the 3 times the Eagles have gotten torched the most through the air in the past 6-7 months or whatever it is, if you include the Super Bowl. So I want to say that, like, give Eric Bieniemy his props. I want to give Sam Howell his props. He threw the ball all over the yard. But I will say this. If you're going to talk about the Eagles pass rush, and I'm a little sensitive to this because I am a pass rusher. People are like, oh, they didn't get home until Hassan Reddick got home on 4th and 5, really. By the way, Hassan Reddick.
Gotta have it. He's
By
gonna get
the
it.
way, Hassan Reddick, go chart it. Every time the Eagles need a big rush, he's the clutch guy. And I appreciate that so much because that's the kind of guy you need when you're trying to win championships. You need a guy who has that clutch gene, who knows when to make a play. And he can be your best guy, or he can be just a guy that steps up in big situations.
For the Steelers, it's T.J. Watt.
Yeah, for the Eagles, it's Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
And it happens to be for those two teams, it's your best rusher. So I just think, I want to give him his props, but Howell. And I want
Number
you
2
guys,
fantasy quarterback.
I want you guys to listen closely to this. Kyle, I haven't set my lineup in weeks. Okay?
He is.
Sam Howell, the first time they played, 295 to throw. We talked a lot about he made a lot of heroic throws with guys draped on his back. I saw the touchdown with Milton Williams draped on his back, the whole thing. And people were talking about the Eagles hit him. They didn't get home. That's valid. When you got 3 seconds to throw the ball, that's different. His time to throw yesterday was 2.4. So more than a half second, he has expedited that process by. And that's not a winning formula for a defensive line. Now, the Eagles secondary is the 8th combination on the year. But to start the game, I thought especially, their EPA was down at the bottom defensively when it came to first down yesterday, early downs. Okay? But to start the game, this was what the Commanders did, their first 7 first downs, and not in order. Touchdown, first down, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 1, 2nd and 1, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 5. Those are the first 7 first downs. So that's a problem. And you talk about the quick game, talk about the Washington run offense. You can get your run game going through the air. They got the ball out quick, and on 3rd down, because of some of those distances, they were pretty good. And that's a team that's 31st in the NFL coming in on 3rd down. So Howell played great. The Blankenship pick was the one play. It's like a Big 12 type of game where all it took was one stop, and you knew the whole thing would change from there. And the Blankenship pick was that. So big for them. We'll build from here.
I mean, how great and underrated is A.J. Brown?
Dude.
Well, you ask people who the best receivers are.
They barely mention him in the top 3 to 4. Like, even when you ask other receivers, I don't know what it is, if they're just jealous of his, like, physical prowess, and they kind of look at it like, well, he's not a route runner, or like,
yeah.
He's not this Jerry Rice guy. But what he is a fucking problem. That one-handed catch in the end zone.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just bully ball with him.
He reminds me of young Julio Jones, and how great was it to see Julio
catch a
Jones?
touchdown.
Like,
How
I saw your boy
excited.
Lane.
Yeah.
Lane looked so
Everybody
happy.
was so excited for Julio Jones
He
when
was
he caught that
cheesing,
touchdown.
man. And good for him. I'd like to see him get a ring.
What a goat he was.
I am a little worried about the Jalen Carter back injury. He's a big piece for them. on
Man.
He's a
defense.
big piece for my wallet if he's out for an extended period of time. What's
Defensive
the deal
rookie
with
of the
that?
year,
He was injured before the game started, and then it was obviously ineffective in the first half, and then
What are
they
the-
took him out in the third.
What do the odds look like right now? Can you look
He
that
was
up?
the favorite going into the weekend at -120 because I have the same bet.
And what? Okay, now
I
Has
don't
it
know.
changed?
Hasn't
Okay, I hope
updated.
not. But I will say this again: when we're praising Jalen Hurts, don't forget this part. Whenever the Eagles have needed a big drive to win a game, to ice a game, he's gotten it. And that one came 75 yards, 7 minutes to open the 4th. In a situation where you had to have it. I love Jalen Hurts. He's not the best quarterback in the league, but he is one of them. And he's one of the toughest because he is hobbled. The bad from this game, I want to see the run game get going. Nate's going to look at Nate's costume. He's crossing behind us. The bad from this game, I want to see the run game get going. They didn't really commit to it. They had the 2 low red turnovers, Gainwell fumble and the tush push fumble.
Ooh.
You got to fix that. But more than anything, I think Philly fans will agree with me when I say we need to be better at the halfback position in the red zone. So whether it's they don't like Swift in the red zone or Gainwell gives them something, at this point it's run its course. Howie's not done. Now, I think he goes and gets a slot guy, but does he go get like a Dalvin Cook, a guy who's rotting in New York and probably would be the appropriately priced guy to go grab at the deadline for the red zone and for these short yardage situations? We got a brotherly sweep in the red zone. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, that was really a cool play.
But do not forget that they added Jay Ajayi our Super Bowl year at the deadline. Howie looks back at stuff like that and says, I got to do the same thing. Maybe they'll add another back.
Do you think that sweep had anything to do with Jalen's injury? Like if he couldn't push off
That's
his leg?
interesting, yeah.
And they like knew they could get it, but they wanted to add
Yeah.
this. They knew, throw the
It's just
piece in.
amazing. I watched last night and Bajent trying to do the tush push. It's just like a whole different animal. It's like
got it.
anytime I watch.
People have to realize, like, that whole being able to squat 500-600 pounds.
It's real.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's like pushing the sled.
What's his payload? What's Jalen Hurts?
Dodge Ram
Yeah,
1500.
yeah. Exactly. They should do an Eagles offensive line commercial for like Dodge Ram.
They're just like
I
on a
haven't-
mountaintop, and
Yeah.
it's like the 4 of them, 5 of them just
There
running
you go,
along.
Reed.
Yeah. You don't need the Eagles O line to have a payload like this.
Get yourself
right.
a Dodge.
Yep,
Ram.
exactly. All right. Rams, Cowboys, because we're looking ahead to the Eagles' big game this week with Dallas. By the way, I have Dallas, a bye at Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas. This weekend is burn the ships for the Eagles. It's play balls out. It's play Jalen Hurts. It's run Jalen Hurts, and then get healthy over the bye. Okay? The Cowboys, 43-20, took care of business against the Rams. Textbook Dallas, curb stomping. I
dialed.
mean,
They're dialed.
but this is what they do, Kyle. I know they can do this.
But this is the way that the football gods want it to be, Chris. We got Philly Cowboys next week. I mean, people want to see a Phillies team or a Philadelphia Eagles team that people think is better.
Don't bring up the Phillies, jeez.
A Philadelphia Eagles team that people think is better and a Cowboys team that nobody believes in. Show me the team that nobody believes in dominating the week before a big matchup, and you've got such a hyped up game.
Well,
I can't wait to get ready for this.
I'm looking. This is from Action Network. I'm going to look at the signals for this coming weekend.
While you're looking for that,
with
can
the
I
Eagles.
talk a little
Go
bit
ahead,
about
do
this
it.
game?
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was really awesome, Deron Bland, we're going to talk about him later in the mentions, but he's got 3 pick sixes this year, most by a Cowboy ever. Leads the National Football League. The defense showed up in a big way. Micah Parsons, 7 pressures in under 2.5 seconds. He had 8 pressures total, but 2.5 seconds under that, being able to pressure the quarterback, that's God tier rushing. CeeDee Lamb, 12 catches, 158, 2 touchdowns. I just think that Dak and CeeDee Lamb combination is really, really underappreciated in the NFL. And there's so many guys that we look
Especially
to and
at
say,
home.
man, they're awesome. But yes, the Cowboys in general at home, that's why they're number 1 on the America's team in my list. And I love it. And I hope Matt Stafford's okay. And, man, the Rams didn't look too hot.
How quick is that for an old lineman to, like, when you're giving up a sack
It's
or
this.
giving
Okay,
up a pressure?
White 80 said, pressure.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like,
and it makes it like, listen, like you can do things
7
to him.
times.
You can do things to him when he's lined up on the edge to take more time. You're further away from the ball. It's easier to chip guys, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When he's a floater and he gets on the center, and the way he actually can run the hoop inside is incredible because that's a tighter hoop. Like he almost uses those lesser athletes to slingshot him into the quarterback. He hooks that arm and he can run his feet in that tight hoop as good as anybody. And he went up and down the line and did it. He did it against the center. He did it against the guard. So I think like this is a tailor-made beatdown spot, right? You know, like at one point they scored 19 points in under 3 minutes. Like this is Cowboys football against a lesser opponent, and that's not taking anything away from them. This is what they do. If you're not ready to play the Cowboys, you can't protect, you know, you turn the ball over, you're going to get boat raced.
Or you can't cover.
Or you can't cover. Like the linebackers for the Rams on the first drive, they're in a blender. Like, so they had great play calls, CeeDee Lamb, whoever he was lined up against. I mean, but there was a moment where you thought, it's 10-3. The Rams get the ball back. Man, Dallas is having some protection problems because they were the first drive. They got like 3 sacks, one of them negated by a penalty. The Rams are in this if they can score. And then before you can blink, you get the pick six, the choice route, which I still don't know if somebody made the wrong choice or if Stafford just sailed it. Then you get special teams, the block punt, and the Turpin return. It was like every way over that 3-minute span they could beat you, they beat you. And then from there, it's like I said, it's like having Rampage Jackson on top of you. Is that like that's how it feels when you're down to the Cowboys and they roll like this. The concerns, okay, clean up the red zone interception. Okay, like red zone's been kind of an issue for them. And I also think like going to a shorter passing game because they have makes them earn things more than they did like a year ago. So, you know, they've got to be better in the red zone in general, but like build on that. And then you gave up some sacks on the first drive. If I'm Philly, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, I feel good about our edges depending on who's healthy, who's up, who's down. But even if they're healthy, you know, there are some matchups we can win. And I think Dak's best off platform. You know, I think he's really good in the pocket, but I know you're trying to do more timing stuff. But like, don't lose sight of the fact that I love seeing Dak roll right and extend a play and throw the ball on the run. Like
Different levels. He can split the field up vertically.
Exactly. And so don't lose sight of that if you're the Cowboys. For the Rams, do you sell now? Because Matt Stafford's hurt. There was a social I put out about a year ago where I said, the Rams aren't players this year. Okay? I think McVay's a great coach. I got a lot of respect for Stafford. I was worried about Stafford's health. But obviously, he's looked pretty healthy. Now, that time has come where he's hurt. You're not winning as much as you thought you might if you're a Rams fan. I mean, like, the defense, pretty average. The offense got some real holes. Jalen Ramsey, you shipped him. You didn't get a lot for him. It was kind of a contract kind of thing. I floated Aaron Donald, okay? And this is with the utmost respect to Aaron Donald. He's one of the people I respect the most. He's a personal friend. He's somebody who I was very happy for to get a Super Bowl. I was pulling for him. Even though I'm a St. Louis Ram and people in St. Louis have Super Bowl parties with the game turned off. Like, that's how much they hate LA. And, you know, when people say, why aren't you a big Rams fan? It's probably because I wasn't an LA Ram. I was a St. Louis Ram. But for Aaron Donald, who's like a franchise guy, he's been there 10 years. It's a tough decision to make, but it's one that I think you should make. I think sending him to a contender, giving him a chance to handpick his destination, and getting something for him would be wise. I'll say it again. I said it last year. People killed me for it. But one of the trades happened. The next one could happen. And I think the timing of the Stafford injury has to make you think about being sellers.
What do you think would be the best spot? Like, where do you think, like, hey, like, I can see this happening?
Well, we just talked about Dallas. Nice long Buffalo. Nice long hug with Dak after the game. Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh.
We mentioned Jacksonville could use D-line.
Jacksonville.
Wow.
There are teams out there, and I'm sure I haven't listed them all, but like, I know it's a tough decision. I know the guy is one of your favorite players if you're a Rams fan, but these things happen where a franchise is going in a different direction, and you know it's almost unfair to that player to play out the twilight of their career. And I don't think he's in the twilight. By the way, he beat Zach Martin for a sack yesterday. But like, you know, how far off are you if you're the Rams? I don't know. And that's a decision they have to make. So I will say this. I will show my ass if they do trade him, because the messages and the replies under that were so – if I gave a shit, they'd be hurtful. Okay? Like these LA Rams fans, like they just want to slander me because I don't agree with them on something. But in this situation, I don't think it's out of the question.
How do you feel? Are you if you're the Cowboys coming off such a good game because they've had trouble stringing two really good games together? Are you really confident going into this Eagles game, or is there some doubt in the back of your mind?
I'm confident. You got to feel confident. I mean,
so you know how hard it is to win in this league. You know how hard it is to win the way they won.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even harder.
Now the Eagles, Gardner Minshew damn near beat them in Dallas last year. I don't know if they won that game or it was close, but it was a shootout. So like, if I'm the Eagles, I feel really good about the matchup. I think the secondary, you have a whole week now. The Eagles weren't on the same page in the secondary. That touchdown, third drive of the game, you know, I think dude thought he had safety help, and you know somebody just passed something off wrong. Like, these are the things that are going to happen even if you get better with Byard. It's your first week. So like, how much can they get done in the secondary and get on the same page this week coming up with Dallas? And I got to mention this because we're talking about all the NFC elites. Let's not forget Seattle. Okay, like, this was a gut check game for them. This is one of the few bets I won yesterday. I just thought the Seahawks in this spot at home, PJ Walker, the whole thing.
It was a lock for me.
I felt like this was a Seattle spot, and they jumped these guys early. And to that point, I don't know who Cleveland's defense is. Like, you know, like we threw around like Baltimore from 2000. We threw around some of these numbers
we got excited.
We got excited, you know, like we were jumping out of the gym a little bit. Okay. If they want to win a title, Cleveland, they have to do it on defense. And so that's all I'll say about Cleveland is like, who is that defense? You can't pick a half to start playing great and give up a bunch of points in the first half. I thought Geno was teetering on having a game with 2 picks where all of a sudden he turned into a pumpkin, you know, because this Cinderella story, there's been these signals over the last month where it's like maybe he's come back down to earth. And I saw an interesting interview with Carissa Thompson, I think it was, and it was Geno. And one thing he said that stuck out to me was, I've always had negative self-talk. You know, I think part of that can be when you're a player in the league and you get drafted by, you know, the Jets or something, everything that happened to you there along the way, it gets in your head.
Start to believe the things that are said about you.
I'm very cynical as a person because of my time with the Rams. Now, that was more of a team thing, but there was definitely some, like, you know, early in my career, some people said some shit, but like also the Rams, like, we just sucked. So the rest of my life, I'm wearing that. You know, when I walk into a room and there are 2 outcomes, I'm probably going to think the bad one's going to happen. And for Geno as an individual player, he said it outright. Like, I haven't been confident. And Pete Carroll breathed this confidence into me, and he's the perfect guy for it. But that guy is in there that is susceptible to, if he has a month of bad run, he feels like that kid again. And I thought this was such a turning point for him to be able to drive them down the field and to be able to put this game away. It was enormous for the Seahawks and for him, but also starting the game. And this is why I'm in on Geno and the Seahawks. Like that 3rd and 12, I think it was, to lock it in the corner of the end zone where he's pressured. He has to step up, throw the ball off platform. Just a fucking beautiful dart in the corner of the end zone that maybe 3 guys in the NFL can make that throw. He makes those throws a lot. So I'm a big Geno fan. I'm pulling for this team. JSN.
He's done well in 2 minute historically,
Yeah.
Geno, and I think there is something to be said for what you're talking about, the self-doubt stuff. I mean, when you're in a moment where there's a pause in the action and you're thinking about it, I'm saying, man, the next 3rd down, am I going to be able to get my hands on this 3 technique?
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. I can imagine for a quarterback it's the same thing. But then you get an opportunity to go down there and win the football game.
4 or 5 on that
And
drive.
he goes down 4 or 5 on the drive. And I think that there's something to be said for a 2 minute not being able to think, not having the time to fucking think. And I think Geno finds a way to just let his arm talent speak.
No question.
And then on the touchdown to JSN with the DK block down at the goal line, little rub after the route. DK was holding him.
Yeah. No question.
It was a hold.
Do you think that has anything?
But I picked the Seahawks,
Yeah.
so I'm
Do you
glad they
think-
didn't call it.
Do you think like situational awareness has a lot to do with coaching and Pete Carroll, and just if you hammer that all the time in practice, it's something where someone like Geno looking so comfortable, it's probably.
I think it's the right coaching. You know, the players
pretty good
around
team
him.
around
I
him.
mean, like Schneider's done a great job. They've done a great job. By the way,
Seahawks
on
fans are
defense,
great.
Mafe, he's gotten a lot of layup sacks, but he also is creating pressure. They've got young guys that are coming along. It's a good team, and that can make you confident too. But I will say this: they were in that same position at the end of the game against Seattle a couple weeks ago in the red zone, and the door just kept getting shut on them. They needed to score that touchdown.
Seattle was in that same position against who?
Cincinnati.
Against Cincinnati. Sorry, who did I say?
They were in Seattle.
Yeah, they were in the same situation against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago where they just got the door slammed on them a few times in the red zone, and to come down there and not have to take it to overtime to get that touchdown, that was big. So hats off to Seattle, and now they are leading the NFC West. So like, you want to talk about a team? I talk about Detroit, like because of the way they are. I think they have to host playoff games to make a run. Seattle, 12th man, to go up there to that field in January and win is tough.
So San Francisco lost, Seattle won, so now Seattle takes alone
Yeah.
Half a game.
half a game.
That's my long shot.
That's a tough fucking place to play.
It is tough, dude.
No.
That was my long shot Super Bowl game preview yesterday. Seattle versus Cleveland.
Seattle, Cleveland.
That's
It's
long
looking like a
shots.
long shot for Cleveland. But yeah, I mean,
Jeez.
I heard you say that yesterday. That was a big matchup. It was a big matchup for Seattle, and they came out on top. And it wasn't perfect, but good for them. Atlanta, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
This was supposed to be the rock fight of all rock fights.
Uh-huh.
And then 2 things happened. First thing that happened was
Star
Will
was
Levis.
born.
Second thing that happened was Taylor Heineke. We'll start with Tennessee. It is such a hard situation to be in right now as a Tennessee Titan and as Mike Vrabel and as Rand Carthen, who I think we're going to learn a lot about. Do you sell? Because coming into the weekend, we talked a lot about Derrick Henry, and they said, we're not trading Derrick Henry. They used him on Sunday. Like we said, if they were going to trade him, they were going to probably sit him down. Spears would get a bunch of carries. It didn't look like they were going to trade him on Sunday. Now, winning this game doesn't mean that they're not going to trade. Winning this game doesn't mean that they're not going to trade DeAndre Hopkins. But as a player coming out of that game, there was a moment where they had Atlanta backed up in the first half, and it was so fucking loud, and guys were so hyped. It gave me chills, dude. It felt like that moment when a team's like, oh, I believe. And the Levis thing had a lot to do with it, but you start to feel like, oh, I'm not doing this for nothing, right? Like you're going to play hard.
fun.
But like, oh, we got a shot. Like it's just a shot in the arm. And I think it's interesting if you're Vrabel and Carthen, you have to make a decision to either rob these guys of a calendar year of football and an opportunity to compete or stick with it and live with those results. And I don't think they're a great team, but it's a tough decision. I can't make it. I don't have a take because I'm a player and I'm biased towards like if I feel like we have a chance to win, I want to buy and I want to stay the way we are. I don't think they're going to buy, but they could be selling. And the Levis thing, here's what's funny about the Levis thing, okay? This guy's actually been slighted. There's a lot of people in the NFL who are like, I was slighted, and you weren't slighted. Like, shut the fuck up. Will Levis was slighted. I mean, he had that Aaron Rodgers sitting in the draft room with his girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend.
Hey, big head.
We'll talk about that. But like,
Are we gonna talk about that?
Yeah.
That's huge.
it might be my, well, I'll save it. But
There's a lot to unpack there.
But the deep shots, man, and the throws outside the numbers, right?
Electric deep shots.
The throws outside the numbers, man, you know, like when I think about Tannehill, I think about the seams, I think about the middle of the field, I think about play action. Like, he just let it rip. And I don't know if it's the fearlessness of being the second guy up, and I don't know if it's going to be the same. He might go throw 3 picks this week against Pittsburgh. I bet the under in that game. So maybe fade me. But, like, these are the things that unlock a whole nother element to your offense if he is this guy. Now,
yeah, production, explosive fucking production.
Yeah, and a word of caution here. Levis is the first guy to throw 4 touchdowns in his debut since, any guesses? Kyle, you played with one of them.
Patrick
Mariota?
Oh.
Of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Okay? And we're replacing the guy that
himself a
replaced
touchdown
Mariota. So, not to, like, rain on the parade, but, like, this doesn't mean necessarily that you have your guy, but, boy, is it fucking exciting. And I loved him standing up for Malik Willis after the game.
2 games like that back to back. Do you change your if we see the same?
Oh, he's my guy now this year.
Okay.
But he strings together a couple of these games. You start to think, I got my quarterback of the future. You know, so I like I said, quarterback development, it takes not weeks, months, and even years to make a call on a quarterback. But on the fly, if he does this again this week, obviously there's no looking back. I don't think there's any looking back now as it is. But when it comes to like the future and the plan of your team, I want to see the next month.
How shitty of a week do the Steelers have next week when they host the Will Levis quarterback Titans and they give up another 4 tuds?
Oh, that's not going to happen. No. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a better game.
Those Black Air Forces might come out this week from Tomlin.
Yeah.
Stop all that.
How do you fight
all
Black
it does,
Air Forces?
all
with
it
mayonnaise.
Does is
you get them white. You turn them white.
Mayonnaise. But all it does, honestly, is just bring more media into the locker room, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, that's really all it's going to do for Tennessee. That
their
locker room today is probably
DeAndre
small market
Hopkins
team
get-back
with a big story.
Said he felt like Geno. Felt like everybody was sleeping on him, and it looked like it, too.
Also,
the DBs were sleeping on him.
They were.
He was
wide open. And then also just, like, watching his body language and the team's body language. It's like the connection, he immediately was going over to Levis on the sideline, like, all right, now we're boys. We're going to talk it out and that sort of thing. And, like, that's a sign of, like, you're the guy. And
yes, it is.
On the other side of things, again, not fair to put Heineke in at half when you got the under. Arthur Smith, is it like a naked photograph that Ritter has on you? And I know, like last week, I said Ritter's improving. But when the improvement stops, like, it's a halt. It's like a screeching halt. Like, I know Tennessee is a tough defense, but you take 5 sacks in the first half, fumble the ball. Like, turnovers have been the story with him. You're not moving the ball. Like, I have no problem with making that change. I've been calling for it for months. Okay, so Heineke, who I think a lot of, comes out in the second half and scores 20 points. Okay, like the Falcons, I looked at this. They've only scored 30 points one time under Arthur Smith, and that was overtime. Now, I'm not saying they scored 30 points yesterday, but like 20 and a half, okay? They're 22 of 42 under 20 for an entire game. You scored that in the second half, okay? Now, I know you could say prevent defense, that sort of thing, guy you didn't expect to see, but the offense looks like it just looks more free. And the extended plays, as nervous as you get about Heineke up in Washington because he has a little of that Brett Favre in him.
Fuck it.
I'll take that, the upside of his Brett Favre to the Ritter conservatism and the downside of the turnovers. Like, I'm not making any bones about it. I'd rather see Taylor Heineke the rest of the way. And Arthur Smith after the game said that that he still believes in Ritter and he's probably going to play this weekend. Now, I don't know if that's gamesmanship, but at what point in that locker room do you say, Coach, what the fuck are we doing? Because I think they're a playoff team. Okay? I mean, I think they're a playoff team. So I'm not sure what they're thinking, but it's not music to my ears. And I want to bet early look at this week. I want to bet them against Minnesota. But I don't know what the fuck to think.
Yeah.
I knew that this game was going to be a Titans win going into it. You want to know why?
Why?
Mike Vrabel coming off a bye, 5-0. Not only that, he's got a backup in the game. He's got a Hall of Fame running back that's potentially on the trading block, and you've got your throwback combos on. Anytime that's the combination of things,
Yeah. A pretty small sample
They're
with
gonna
the
win.
throwbacks, with a backup,
Hall of Fame.
with a Hall of Fame. It's a subset of data that we focus on
Yeah.
here.
Sucks that's the last time they
You
get
have
a
to keep
chance
an eye
to
on
wear
that.
it, though.
Yeah, that's
something
it.
to keep an eye
The
on.
litigation, man.
Legally.
But here's the thing: when I think about backup quarterbacks and Mike Vrabel, I think about them going to Kansas City last year with Malik Willis, a Kronkwo, a bunch of like explosive plays, keeping the points down. Like they are scrappy. They find ways to win. They're creative. This was that game for them. 2 quarterback system coming in, make the adjustment on the fly. And Mike Vrabel's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Why don't the Atlanta fans take a page out of the Tennessee Titan fan book, and when Atlanta tries to put Ritter back in, they start booing?
Oh, that's good.
Maybe
That's good. I
Maybe
like that.
maybe
Psychology.
that'll help.
Psychology.
You know
Did
what
you
I'm saying?
get a second degree in college I don't know about?
No, that my first degree is
With
in
psychology?
Yeah.
Really?
psych major.
Oh, no shit. That's why he knows how to get under people's skin.
pisses people off.
He's good at that.
Great.
He studied 4 years at a
That's
prestigious
why you're always
university
psyching me out.
to troll people. Okay.
Jets at Giants.
Guys, I have a take Quake. I have a big old take here, okay? Jets Giants. We'll talk about this game. But when you get to overtime and you're Brian Dable and you win the toss, why would you receive it?
That's a great point.
Why would you receive it? You have -7 passing yards. You end up on the 10-yard line.
So you're saying play
Third-
for the
Yeah, Kyle, you end up 3rd and 31 from your own 14. Is that a fucking misprint? That's what you did with receiving the kick in overtime? Your best chance at this thing was to kick the ball to Zach Wilson, who had a touchdown drive like a day ago
Get a
at this
turnover.
point. Okay? Get a turnover or a fucking short field and kick a long field goal. Even if Graham Gano had like the yips or whatever he had, your best chance of winning this game was to kick the ball to the Jets in overtime.
Graham Gano, big miss.
What if he had run the ball on that 4th and 1 with 28 seconds left?
I
It
mean,
would have been a turn. You wouldn't have kicked it. You tried to go for it.
maybe so.
Then they would have had to go 83 yards the other way with 28 seconds.
Maybe so. I don't know, Reed, but I feel a lot stronger about the overtime thing. And like, listen, you got -7 yards passing. The Jets are hilarious. Hilarious, dude. They've outplayed Mahomes, Hurts, etc. And then they need fucking overtime and a miracle drive to beat a team with a 3rd-string quarterback
Danny
and
DeVito.
-7 passing yards. You can't make this shit up. And when I looked at it, what's hilarious about the Jets, this is the funniest thing about the Jets this year. They're a different team. They're 4-3, all that stuff. Last year, they were 5-3 through 8 games. In 2022, 26th in offensive EPA to this point, 4th in defensive EPA. This year, 30th in offensive EPA, 6th in defensive EPA. It's the same team. Now, last year, depends on how you look at it, if Wilson doesn't get hurt, if they improve, if they win some of their close games, you might think, oh, wild card team, right? This year, wild card team, right? Like that's kind of your ceiling. And I think it's so interesting because the narrative is completely different, but it's the same damn team, dude. But the Wilson heroics, that's a little bit different, right? Like right from the Bills game at the beginning of the year to have a punt return for a touchdown. The old Jets, they blow that thing in overtime. This game, this game was over, Kyle. This guy, Connor Hughes, he's a Giants beat reporter. This was a tweet, which he didn't take down, and I respect. Dable deserves immense credit getting the Giants back on track. They were dead in the water at 1-5. Now they're 3-5 with the Raiders next. And he sent the tweet. I think it was before maybe the kick or when the Jets got the ball back. He didn't take it down. This game was over. And
Change channels.
oh, he also mentioned Dable and Wink Martindale just took down the Jets without QB1, two left tackle, right tackle, and more. Not pretty, but good enough. So the jinx job from Giants media, but 24 seconds to go, you get a chip shot miss, and you get a completion in plus territory with 9 seconds to go. I'm sitting in the room with Jets fans. They're like, we're not going to be able to clock it. We're not going to be able to clock it. Like, the Jets just have this gravitational pull towards losing in just excruciating fashion that few teams do. And they wear it. Their fans wear it. The Jets probably feel that way, but they're starting to win in some of these situations where you didn't think they could. And that's the only difference.
The Giants fans are starting to feel that way. It's just horrible. Shout out to Tyrod Taylor. Hopefully he's doing well. But it's just like whenever someone like that, he's in there playing his ass off, playing so well. And to get a rib injury when you have a past of like things going on with your lungs and you have to go to the hospital, it's never good to hear that. And it just sucks for the Giants to like you're already in a tough spot and
Dable's
you have
hell.
yeah, and you're making the best of the situation, and then the best of the situation gets hurt.
Bro, I think Dable would be totally justified in taking a mental health break, dude. Like, this is, if you think about the things that have happened to them this year, the blowouts, the end of the Buffalo game, the end of this game, third string quarterback, like, you can't even he's got to be just down in the dumps, man. I want to shout out the punter from the Jets. Is that Morstead?
Yeah.
Okay, there were 15 total
Highlight
punts in the
film,
first
yeah.
half, first off, which is insane.
MVP of the team for sure.
But like,
Andy got that ball down on the kick.
He was
you
great.
see, he dropped the ball right perfectly.
he was great, dude. So, special teams, the Jets are stones, and the Giants, Graham, no.
Good no.
That's what my fucking computer autocorrects it as. So, I mean, like, that's how you feel when he rolls up. I want to shout out Kayvon Thibodeau. He was great.
Yeah,
he was fucking great yesterday. I mean, like, that's what you need, man. And he's had some of these games, and he's come on this year. I don't know how many buckets he has. He probably got 5 or 6. But, like, he's really playing well. And that D-line with Dexter Lawrence and that sort of thing, that's one thing you hang your hat on. Again, Rodgers is throwing the ball.
Yeah.
So you never know. A message.
Not only throwing the ball. Come on now. Let's not minimize.
I'm not minimizing, Kyle. What I'm not doing is I'm not going to fall for Kyle. I'm not going to fall for the okey doke here, where everybody's just going to talk about Aaron Rodgers because he's throwing the ball on the side.
No, that's not all I'm going to talk about. But what I am saying is there's some unprecedented things going on.
That's a little hate, Chris. That's a little hate,
bro.
All I'm saying
I don't think you. No, what you're doing, what you're doing right now, psychology major, is there is an outcome that's never happened before. There is literally no reason to believe that he's going to come back off an Achilles and be effective, except for his own mouth.
I guess.
So what are you doing?
Well, my thing is for the NFL,
you're jumping
and for
out
us,
of the gym. You're going to pop your
No.
Achilles jumping out of the gym.
No, but for us, it's just like we've never seen this,
Yeah,
even on the surface.
it's
On the
something
surface,
to watch.
like no one's done it.
Something to
Also,
keep an eye on.
What? So how am I being a hater for looking at Aaron
I didn't
Rodgers and
say
saying,
that.
like, I got to believe it to see it? Like, this is unprecedented.
I mean,
you're
he's
not Adrian
walking,
Peterson.
man.
You're a 40-year-old white guy, dude. Like, I'm sorry. The guys that
that's why I'm saying it sounds like hate a little bit.
hate. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Prove your point better.
I would be really interested to see because obviously it's
This is talk radio stuff you
it's-
guys are falling for.
No, it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented to see him move the way he's moving.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, seeing him do that at 40, 6 weeks after Achilles surgery, even
What's he do-
moving around without limping.
I'm sorry. I'm so confused here.
I saw him take a 3-step drop. I saw him throw.
Holy shit.
Chris, he's back.
I'm not saying
back,
I'm
guys.
not saying he's Jesus Christ.
He's
but I'm
back.
saying it's impressive.
You guys are falling for the
It takes a
McAfee
lot
news
to
cycle.
be impressed here at
You're
Studio
falling for the
J.
McAfee
Yo,
news cycle.
it does.
No, I'm not. I'm not Pat McAfee. I'm making a statement about what I saw with my fucking eyes about Aaron Rodgers. And
Yes.
it was impressive to me.
It is impressive. Can I get the tape on him throwing on the sideline?
It was impressive.
We can break the whole
It was
thing
on the
down.
field.
Yeah.
It was on the field.
Hey, if you're the Jets, my bigger point is don't expect somebody to walk through that door. You have to learn how to win with Zach Wilson.
But I don't know what I believe if I'm in that building. I don't know if I believe that the cavalry is going to arrive or not. I mean, seriously, like we've seen Zach Wilson.
Okay, I'm watching the tape.
Winter is coming.
We've seen Zach Wilson make progress.
I'm watching the tape. This is impressive. Damn.
Thank you.
I mean, quick game.
We can run it.
Quick game? Is that
We
what?
can run it.
All I'm saying is, like, I've seen guys with Achilles before. What you're asking me to do is accept some astronomical, low probability thing, and if I don't, I'm
I just
a
think it's
hater.
fun.
Nate.
I just said I think it's fun.
I know. The Jets.
'cause
Just learn to win with Zach Wilson. Okay.
You're right, Chris. You're right.
I don't need to hear I'm right.
Get well soon, Aaron.
Okay.
I don't even know the point we're arguing here.
That it's interesting and it was impressive.
It's interesting. Go ahead. What do we got?
And the
A word
goalposts
from
are
our
moving.
sponsor. This is Game Time. With Game Time, you can pop your Achilles and come back in 3 days. You shouldn't have to worry about when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time makes it easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, even last-minute deals. So if Aaron Rodgers is up in 2 weeks, you can buy on Game Time. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With Zone Deals, you pick up the section and Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code GREENLIGHT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code GREENLIGHT, GREENLIGHT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
They really do have an awesome app. I used it this weekend to go to the Wizards.
All right, no, I've been getting. You went to a fucking Wizards game without John Morant playing. This guy's a real sicko.
That's a basketball fan, right?
He's going up to Washington to watch the Wizards play. I don't even know who's on the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane's not on the Grizzlies anymore.
You see what the Wizards did? They have like club-style section seatings behind the baseline now.
Yeah,
Like you could buy like
a party,
like a 4-person
Yeah.
like section bottle service section.
they're trying to make it like the Nats games. Those are like a party. But what Bears at Chargers? We are into the uglies. Okay, we're into the uglies.
And it was ugly.
It was ugly.
It was really, depending on who you were watching and who you were rooting for to do well, it was really pretty. For Justin Herbert and the Chargers, it was like you just can't fucking miss. And for people who love football in the quarterback position, Justin Herbert goes out and is able to just hit boom, 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 time after time after time. That defense starts saying, I don't even know why we're fucking out here.
I'm such a moron.
He's going to find guys open. Yeah, you bet the Bears.
I'm such a moron, dude.
And for Bajent,
you know,
it was the inexperience with the group, Chris, was apparent. There was a choice route on the left side that he threw his first interception on, and people were like, what a bad pick. And I'm like, who's playing receiver over there? It's DJ Moore. It was up to him to make a decision. He saw it go. Tyson saw it stop. Those are the things that you'll see, the struggles with a young quarterback. But again, I didn't think Bajent looked terrible. They continued to let him take shots down the field.
The shots look good.
I like that.
They hit their first shot. I'm thinking, oh, we're cover city,
I like
baby.
that. That's just a better team.
Yeah,
the
no.
Chargers are a better team on the road. I thought, the coolest looking guy in the stands or in the stadium was Justin Fields with the shades.
Oh, shades!
on,
I would totally do shades.
hanging out in LA. There's nothing like being on the roster but not being on the active roster.
I know.
Being in LA.
We both had those experiences.
I went and watched the Chiefs and the Chargers play a couple years ago. It was the best game I've ever seen.
Dude, when I got hurt, we had a trip to Minnesota. That was my no curfew hurt guy trip. Like I had to go out and get drunk in Minneapolis the day before the game. People are like, "What's up with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been out."
Did you go to
for
the
6
Mall of
weeks."
America?
I don't think I went to the Mall of America, but that is a nice trip if you're just hanging out. To
Nice
go out
town.
west. It's a nice town.
towns.
Nice towns. Yeah.
Twin Cities.
But here's the deal, man. The Bears, they're a long way away. Eberflus at halftime. First off, I got to mute the game when I'm on the wrong side of a bet. Chris Collinsworth just like the whole game. I can see these Chargers making a run. The whole thing, like he will talk you into anything, dude. I can't, bro. The schedule for the Chargers kind of soft coming up. They could make a run. I've already decided a week ago that I don't believe in them. Okay, so I can't go back. Not because they boat raced the fucking Bears. By the way, you fans out there, whenever you say, "Oh, the NFL's rigged," you're crazy. Last night, it was rigged. I felt that way. I told you, the intentional grounding, all that stuff, all the calls that didn't go my way. I felt like those guys just wanted to get the fuck out of there. The first pass was a touchdown.
That changes the whole dynamic of the game. The whole dynamic of the game.
The whole game. Eberflus at the half. They're like, "What do you have to do better?" He's like, "Well, we gotta wrap our arms and run our feet." I was like, "Oh, I'm like, we're fucked.
We got to get our pad level down, see the field."
My man Biff Poggi had a halftime interview this weekend that was brilliant. It was just like, well, like it's just not good. Like it's just we need to stop talking to people when we're getting beat. Just stop talking. Go out there and execute. Do your job. Eberflus is like, we got to get back to the fundamentals of tackling. That worries me going in the second half.
We got to sink our hips.
We got to sink our hips. Okay, Baltimore, Arizona.
Yep.
Baltimore makes everything interesting, okay, except for the Lions game, the turnovers, the end of the game, dude. If you were on Baltimore, and I wasn't, thank the good Lord, I only had them in the first half, which was a sweat, dude. Mm-hmm. Okay, but Baltimore, I think they were laying 8.5. At the end of this game, Gannon needs a couple scores, right? They go down, score. Onside kick. Nelson Aguilar. Unlike Aguilar, that's the guy the Philly house fire guy.
Aguilar?
So there was a couple years ago, Nelly had some bad drops when we were in Philly. Mm-hmm. And then there was a house fire in Philadelphia. And I guess a fireman caught a baby that they threw out of the house.
Oh, I remember this.
And then the guy standing in front of a fucking burning structure fire was like, "Yeah, the fireman caught it, unlike Aguilar." And it just became this big thing. Well, anyways, the fucking the end of that game, you're up 10, onside kick, Aguilar just drops it. I'm just thinking, the people with Baltimore, I just had to be furious, and they end up kicking a field goal. And Arizona covers. Arizona, man,
perfect tank.
They are nailing this tanking thing because Jonathan Gannon can coach. It's obvious he can coach. And I also want to say this: if you're a new coach and you get hired, you should aim to have a stinker soundbite, whether it's pew pew verticals or biting kneecaps or Sirianni looking like he's having a panic attack at the podium. That's what you need to do because all three of those guys can really coach. And over the last 2 years, they're like, "Oh, Urban Meyer aced his press conference. He's not going to stick a finger in anybody's butt after a game." Adam Gase.
He had a bad press conference, and then he was just bad.
No, we don't want the tendency breakers here.
But I'm with you.
Everybody was like, "Oh, Staley."
Everybody was laughing at
Staley.
this hire.
Yeah. So, shout out to Jonathan Gannon. I don't want to. We're not giving moral victories out here, but these guys are in it every week. And Kyler Murray's coming off of IR or whatever he was on, and they're saying they don't intend on trading him. I don't know what to make of the future of the Cardinals and what they're trying to do and what they're not trying to do.
They've got some other teams' picks coming up here in this next draft. So
I think the Panthers won.
I think one thing that they have is their quarterback. They've got a guy that can play quarterback, and that's hard to find in this league.
If you're them, do you trot him out there to try to make him look good so that you can package him and send him away in the offseason?
I say you get him as healthy as you can.
Okay.
Get him as healthy as you can. Keep him ready to go, and then draft the best team.
And how much stock do we take in when we hear that teams we're not looking to trade them? I don't take full stock in that. Okay.
A lot of times,
I feel like it's the perfect thing to say right now.
I feel like a lot of teams say it, and then people just call with more capital. Hey, I'm not trading this guy.
Or maybe that's the play to publicly say it.
Oh, wow. Big trade. I love Leonard Williams. We talked about him being on the block. Ian Rappaport said the Giants are finalizing a deal to send Pro Bowl defensive lineman Leonard Williams to the Seahawks. Per him and Mike Garafolo, giving them financial flexibility. I love this trade for the Seahawks. I don't know what the haul looks like, but you need help up front. in the run game, in the pass game. This guy's a good all-around player and somebody who's been kind of rotting in New York, and I've always liked him. So happy to see him get a shot in front of the 12s. Minnesota, Green Bay. What a fucking awful play by me. Like, what got into me yesterday? I was like, I did so much research, Kyle, last week. I fucking bought the book, The Art of Sports Gambling. I'm listening to it. Like, there's 5 kids in the house. The in-laws are in. I'm like over kids screaming. I'm calculating hold percentages. Kyle, it's useless. It's fucking useless if you ID Green Bay as the buy low play of the week, and you're like, yeah, Green Bay. You wanna sell Minnesota high. You wanna buy. It's just like in the book. Fuck it. I just need to let it fly. I'm like Justin Fields. Just let me fly, dude. I don't want to be overthinking things back there. I don't need to be processing. Just tuck the ball and run and bet the Vikings in this spot. But instead, my dumb ass is donating to Vegas. Green Bay is awful, okay? In the first half, it's like they are tanking. I don't know what they're doing, but it takes the second half for them to get anything going. I talked about them last week, the run-pass splits on first down, the spacing, the lack of shots. This game was brutal to watch if you have money on it. And if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you're a fucking part owner of the team. It must be brutal to watch the game anyways.
Yeah.
Like, we're all in the same fucking boat. What's going on here? I thought Matt LaFleur was this great coach. Maybe he wants to draft a quarterback next year. I'm not sure. But Green Bay, I've had it. I fade him in the first half.
I hate it for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
he was on trajectory to potentially be in the MVP race if this Vikings team became a real runner at the end of the season, and
it was not to be.
I hate to see him.
It was not to be, and you could really see after. And Kirk Cousins, man, it's so funny because the majority of my time as a player playing against him and as a guy in the media, I have noticed that people love to hate this guy. And, you know, he was kind of like the pop culture butt of the joke because it's easy. He's this nerdy guy in a flannel.
You like that?
People don't really like, and they think he's like on the cusp of being elite. But I got to say, as quarterbacks have gone in and out of the elite category over the course of their 5-7 year career or whatever, Kirk has stayed where he is. And that's like a top 10 guy who's probably at the bottom of that top 10, but a guy that can win you football games. And not a high draft pick. Another thing is usually you just hate on the high draft picks. This guy's like a 3rd round pick or something. Like, he kind of, when they got him at Michigan State, he was an afterthought. And then he takes the position and runs with it. And now he's in Minnesota, and he's had a great run there. And I hate the fact that coming into a contract year, he pops his Achilles, but he could be back if they make a run in January. Don't you think?
He should go get the same surgery.
He should just start throwing the ball in the side.
He should get the same surgery. He should get the same cutting-edge surgery.
He's
that
5.
Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers
that's
got.
good. He's 5 years younger than Aaron Rodgers
Try to
or whatever.
return to this sell it all for Aaron Rodgers season.
Exactly. Also interesting that the guy that everybody was going to trade for Kirk Cousins or for Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to happen because of the trade clause and that sort of thing.
Also got an Achilles.
But also had an Achilles. So I mean,
Go ahead.
Should the Vikings be buyers or sellers?
they
at
should
this
be
point?
sellers.
They should sell Justin
I think-
Jefferson.
No, don't sell Justin Jefferson,
Hell no.
bro.
They have 2 great young receivers.
Bro, piss in this cup.
They have
Yeah.
2 great young receivers. I am on drugs. They
Okay,
have 2
yeah.
great young receivers. I say it tongue in cheek, but just imagine the haul you could get.
No, here's the haul that you need to get. You need to go give away the guy that's leading the NFL in sacks, basically, and Daniil Hunter, who, to me, J.J. Watt said in a tweet last week, and sometimes you need J.J. Watt to say it for people to pay attention, but that this guy's been great. Like, all he's done is have 10 sack years, year after year. You know how hard that is to do in your NFL career? Now, he is like an alien. Okay, he's got so much ability, but all he's done is live up to that ability every year. And if you're the Vikings and you're a little ways off, selling a rusher on the wrong side of 25.
On a 1-year contract that you signed before the season that was kind of head scratching.
Yeah, dude. Like, I've talked about Jacksonville. I've talked about some of these teams. Like, take a look, man, because Minnesota, you've got a great football coach. If you're a Vikings fan, you should feel excited about the future. You have 2 great young receivers, one of them that Kyle might ship away. But, like, you have who knows
You have
at
3
quarterback. You might be drafting somebody next year. Like, you have a lot of pieces that you got to be excited about. And I like Brian Flores as a coordinator. Yeah, it's feast or famine a little bit with the blitz, but they've at least been competitive in some games. So, Minnesota, take a look at selling. And for Kirk, I feel bad.
To the Brian Flores point, I mean, as an offensive lineman, when you're preparing for a team each week, you have your blitz meetings, which consists of the running back, the quarterbacks, and the O-line, and the coaches from each respective position. When you're playing a team like Brian Flores and the Vikings, that meeting is longer. It might be twice in a week.
You're spending a lot of time.
There's stuff that you miss out on, the vanilla stuff that just goes out the window because you're worried about all the sexy stuff that's going to be coming.
It's like playing an offense that shows quarterback run or read option or wildcat. Like if I was a head coach, I would have that in my offensive game plan to sprinkle in every week just so teams have to spend 4 hours.
Yeah.
Spending that on something they're not doing with the rest of the game plan. So, Houston, Carolina, okay? The one time in this show I can say, oh, I knew what the fuck I was talking about. But the problem is I gave Houston out on Wednesday. We moved our picks to Wednesday. I'm like 1-5 since we moved our picks to Wednesday. I don't know what I'm doing early in the week, but it's not good. I gave out Houston. I got home. I fucking got on the Google machine. I started doing my own research. Frank Reich, 0-4 off a bye in Indy. And I came in here and I told the guys, I said, hey, abort mission. We have to bet the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers took care of business. They won the game. It was a low-scoring game. A lot of people talked about 2 quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks off a bye. It's going to be a shootout, that sort of thing. It was a rock fight, and one that a lot of people didn't watch. But you have to be happy for Carolina. 0-6 against the spread, 0-6. You'd have to go back to 1998 to find a team that went 0-7 against the spread. That was the reason this was the spot to buy low on the Panthers. They have improved over the last couple weeks, and I think the new play caller offensively is something to be excited about. There's a guy that was with McVay.
Thomas Brown.
Yeah, Thomas Brown. He was with McVay. I think if you're Carolina, there have been points in this season where it almost felt like people said, you got the wrong guy. You know, it's the end of the road for them already. Like, it takes time. I will just say that. Like, and so I don't want to give up on Bryce. I don't want to give up on Frank. This was a good win for them. I'm happy for the Carolina Panthers.
Bad for the Bears.
Bad for the Bears.
Yeah, they have that draft
that
pick.
pick's changing every week. Now, I don't know that, for Carolina, they're not in a mode where they're tanking. They're trying to win to support Bryce and build confidence. So they're not in that quarterback race.
You got to bridge the confidence from this year into next year. You can't just end on shitty notes.
New Orleans 38, Indianapolis 27. Chris liked the Colts. Wrong! Okay. New Orleans, offensively, the only thing I'll say is they've been rolling the last 6 quarters. The flurry of points and yards that they put up against Jacksonville in the second half was impressive. I know that they were down, and sometimes coverages get soft and you start taking what you're given. But, they were a Foster Moreau drop away from being in overtime and then come out over the span of 4 quarters, and it's an offensive explosion for them. But New Orleans defense, or Indianapolis' defense, just hasn't been great lately. I mean, the way they're built defensively, they don't have a lot of rushers. They're not dominant in the run game. I don't know why Jonathan Taylor got 11 for 95 in the first half and 1 carry in the second half.
It's tough when you're playing against this offense. Obviously, it was a close game coming out of the half, 21-20 at halftime. But like you said, that defense could not hold up, and this is why New Orleans went out and got Derek Carr.
Yeah,
this is why they've got those weapons, so you can spread the ball around the field, have explosive plays, take the top off the defense.
Shaheed helps.
And when Derek looks right, I mean, his arm talent. When he first got in the league, the first few years of the league, it was like, my God, this dude can just sling the football. When things are right and you feel good and you can just go out there and let it fly, the offense moves the ball. Indy gave up 511 total offense to New Orleans. That you just can't win in this league like that.
No, and Shane's a great play caller, but they got to get it together on defense over the course of the long haul. And Minshew, another nugget, is like Minshew doesn't cover. Like, go look at it. He has not covered. So if you're a gambler, like, I looked at that fucking figure and still bet the Colts. I will not do it again. Minshew's a lot of fun, but this team is built for Anthony Richardson. Mm-hmm. And, that's another thing they have to figure out going into next season is how they keep him clean, because they do have some pieces. And I like the play caller, but it's just not how they want to play. I mean, they're not going to win shootouts every week. All right, we've got Dianna Russini, senior NFL insider for The Athletic, joining us again. Let me put in my earpiece here, Kyle, so I can hear Dianna.
Same.
We've got a lot to talk about. This is the week that it'd be great to have Dianna Russini on Zoom because 2 days from now, everything changes, maybe. Dianna, what's up?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. It's I'm going to try to be respectful of this fantastic interview you guys do with me, but I'm going to have a little bit of a view of my phone while I chat with you.
You're
because
cool.
Stuff's flying around like crazy right now.
We want you on the phone. It's like when Adam Schefter's on TV and he's got his phone out all the time. Yeah, I actually like that. So, where do we start? We just were talking about the Vikings, Dianna, and with the trade deadline coming up, like I don't know if they were sellers before Kirk's injury, but to me, it makes a lot of sense to be sellers now.
Yeah, I was getting the sense that they were both. Actually, they were sellers and buyers, right? So Danielle Hunter was a player that they've been trying to move for the last few weeks. They wanted a good price for that, at least a good compensation. But I think for right now, they're not really getting a substantial amount of interest. So he could be a player we wind up seeing stay in Minnesota for the rest of the season. Of course, could change. That's the fun part of this time of year, is things that I thought were not going to happen, like Leonard Williams, for example. He was a rumored name, but I'd spoken to a couple people around the league, including New York, and I just didn't really get this overpowering feel that they were going to move him. And now he's off to Seattle. Yeah. So, things do change quickly. And, you always hear this, Chris, from general managers, like, well, let's just see what happens this weekend. And then I'll tell you what's going on. And the thing is, there's some truth to it, because a lot of the team's futures are changed week to week. And teams that I know look to be sellers 2 weeks ago, like the Denver Broncos, right? I mean, they are still going to be selling off a lot of their pieces, I believe, but their prices went up now because now they're winning and they're feeling good about themselves. So, very long-winded answer to get to your question about the Vikings. So we know Kirk Cousins now has this torn Achilles. What is the future for them? Right now I can tell you in terms of that position, they're doing their homework, right? So they got the feelers out. They're having conversations in the building about what the best option is. Is it trying to figure out if Colt McCoy, who's already worked out for them, does that make sense? Is it worth trying to see if there's any backups, make any trades? Washington is not interested in trading their backup, Jacoby Brissett. Ryan Tannehill is injured right now, right? We're not too sure about his ankle situation, so I'm not sure if that would make any sense. And financially, I'm not sure if it would either. So I think Minnesota's got a big challenge here.
You mentioned the Titans there in your last blurb and Tannehill. Well, we saw Will Levis go out and have a great performance. How does this change the landscape for what Mike Vrabel and this Titans team is going to be looking to do as the deadline approaches?
That was just incredible to watch. Just like knowing what he went through and being in Nashville the night, well, at least the first 2 nights. And obviously we saw how dramatic that was, that he didn't get drafted in the first round, and the panic, and his people and his family all just being crushed, that nobody was going for him. And if you guys recall, Tennessee was trying to move up out of the second round and actually get him in the first round too. Once they lost a top quarterback, they were trying to get him, but no one was willing to trade out to allow Tennessee to move up. So in the end, Tennessee wound up getting their guy. And now, because Ryan was hurt, it was Will's time to shine, and he certainly did. And
boy, that was fun to watch.
But do they become do they stop being sellers? Do they stop being sellers though? Because to me, we were just talking about, it's such a difficult decision for Mike Vrabel. Like, I watched moments in that game where I felt like for the first time that team really believed in weeks, if not all year, and now you got to make a decision that could crush your team. Like if it's shipping Derrick Henry, or, if it's DeAndre Hopkins, you're saying out loud that this isn't the year.
Yeah, I don't think you could have put it any better, because I think that's an actual real thought in that building right now. Because I agree with you. I mean, I don't know if it was the uniforms. I don't know if it was alumni weekend. There was just something about that was like that magic of the Titans that you and I used to like back in like 2019. Remember? I think you and I were like the only Titans fans on planet Earth.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like fandom. It was just like respect, right? Like, because they were just like grinding team. But yeah, you're right. Moving forward, what do they do here? I wasn't told that they told Derrick Henry, and I've talked to a lot of different people on all different sides of this. I don't believe that Derrick Henry was told directly, we are not trading you. I think Derrick Henry's really smart, and he is well aware of the landscape of this team right now. I just think the Tennessee Titans haven't been able to find a team that's willing to give them a really big haul for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think they're asking a lot from what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in his career, he's going to be 30 years old. And, he can still play. He's not the same guy that we saw in 2019. But I'm interested to see now if those teams that are in for running backs, like the Ravens, like the Dolphins, like the Vikings, would they be willing to maybe push in a little harder to get there?
Now, Dianna, with the Cleveland Browns situation, what's the latest there? I mean, there's been so much to talk about. We talked about the Browns defense earlier, but there's so much more to talk about. What's going on in Cleveland, Dianna?
Yeah, so the same information that's been coming out of there for the last, I'd say, 5 to 7 days now on Deshaun has really just been all, lined up and consistent, and that it's day to day for him, right? And it's pain. They really just want to be able to see if he can drive the ball down the field. And, I've talked to people just around him too, to just find out if some of this is maybe him not wanting to be out there. Because I think there's some narrative out there that maybe he doesn't want to play. He sat out already a full season. Maybe he's not as passionate about football. And you don't get that feel when you talk to that organization and when you talk to that locker room. And I think you can see it on TV, the type of locker room that they are already just on the field. You kind of get a vibe of what they're like. And he wants to be part of that. He doesn't want us to miss this, knowing that they could be really, really special if he could just go out there. So I was told he's improving. He is improving. So we'll just, to me, it's IR, right? Like, that's what I would just monitor. Like, that's usually the question I ask every Monday from every organization that's got a quarterback situation. Like, we going on IR or not? And then as soon as I get no, then it's like, I feel like he can work back. Then it's like, all right, well, how serious is this? So that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's interesting because if he's healthy, we might be talking about them being buyers at wide receiver. I mean, I've thought from the beginning of the season they could use a number 2. But as you can see, the dominoes just affect everything. And so one question that
they're still poking around there, though, Chris.
They're still poking around.
Yeah. So you can be a general manager because, they're still doing
Might
it.
be easier than gambling and having a podcast. More profitable.
I feel your pain on that.
Yeah, you do.
Life on your own after ESPN is so different, man.
With Kyler
it's
Murray,
a grind all the time. Let's just face it, right? Sports is a grind for all you out
sports
there.
is a grind, dude. It's a grind. It's a grind for the Cardinals, but I actually think the Cardinals they should be proud of the way they played. And for a 1-7 or 1-6 team, usually you wouldn't say that, but I think they're in every game, and like Jonathan Gannon can coach. It's obvious. But I don't know what they're trying to do with Kyler Murray possibly coming back this year. What's the sense you're getting? Are they hoping to get him out on the field so that they can show he can still play and then ship him in the offseason, or is he part of the future?
Yeah, let's start with just like what Kyler's done over the last few weeks. They really like his vibe in the building, what he's doing, the work he's putting into it, the rehab, what he's been doing in practice. He's been taking some reps, with the first team. So the plan here, from what I gather, is he's going to be out on the field over the next few weeks, right? So I'm thinking maybe Thanksgiving, maybe right before, he'll get a chance. And I do think because you have a new general manager and a new head coach here, this is a regime that wants to kind of take a look themselves. He's coming off an injury, right? And he's not their guy. They're coming into this. Mm-hmm. So I do think there's going to be some assessment here. But in terms of them being open to trading him, I think some people were tossing that around yesterday, especially once Kirk Cousins went down, and we saw so many quarterbacks get hurt. from all the information I was given, that's not what they're doing. They're not calling anyone. And teams that have called them, which I heard that they did get a few calls, they're like, yeah, no, we're not.
I'm surprised they got calls, and I'm surprised they wouldn't follow those leads because, like I do think there's an element to a new coach, a new regime can bring out different work habits in a guy. And I know the work habits in the past have been, questioned. I also think what's relevant here is we're approaching the trade deadline. He might be coming back, but November 10th, Call of Duty releases the new one.
Oh, that's big.
So, like, just something to think about with timing. Like, do you want to trot him out before that, or do you want to get him when he's got a week under his belt playing? What is that called? What's when you're up in the airplane you respawn? And
Battle Royale, little war zone.
Yeah, I know you know about that.
I got a football question here. I watch all these teams every week, and there's so many teams that are contenders, but there's that one piece of the formula that's seemingly missing. We talked about teams that we think should be in the play towards the deadline. What are some teams that are working really hard today to add a piece?
Yeah.
In general, right? So you have Howie.
Yeah. We're having some technical difficulties here. I think she said Howie Roseman, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Did I say
Diana.
something?
You can pick that up.
We got you now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm so glad that you were able to understand that I meant Howie Roseman. So I think Howie's doing some work. John Lynch is making some calls around the league. I think I believe they're looking for an edge rusher. They're looking for a corner as well. The Buffalo Bills have made a few calls. And at this point, Washington is doing a little bit of both. They've put out some feelers themselves as sellers. We've been talking about the whole Montez Sweat and Chase Young story for weeks now, it seems like. And I really feel if when I come back on, hopefully next week or soon, we'll be saying that one of those guys are going to probably be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I did have somebody in Washington say to me this morning, though, that there are some people in the building that want to keep these guys, right? Because it's kind of like what you were just talking about with the Derrick Henry idea. And you guys can talk about this way better than I can about when you start looking around and seeing key pieces leaving and moving, I'm sure it's pretty deflating, right? So these guys can believe that they can win. It's still so early. It feels like we've been doing this for so long, but I always like looking back at, this is such a chick thing to say, but I always go back to my Instagram and I look back at my pictures from games in October. I'm like, oh my God, that was so cute. I used to think those games mattered. Like, come December, like I remember being like so excited. I got a Frank Reich interview, no one cared. It was week 7, so much changes. Hard in the moment to think of it. So, with players being moved right now, it truly is so early. So look, I do think one guy is going to be on the move there in Washington, but I know there are some people on that staff that want to keep him.
All right. Well, that's good intel there. And if there's it's always great to talk Dianna, but especially before the trade deadline. So great to have Dianna Russini on. Head honcho is what I call her at The Athletic. Well deserved. And hope to see you again on a Monday or two.
Thanks. Tomorrow's Halloween, so I got to try to figure out how I'm going to do this trade deadline stuff and take my little boys trick-or-treating. My sons are going to be Jason and Travis Kelsey.
That's good.
So my 1-year-old, he's going to be Jason, and I got to figure out how to make his eyebrows really bushy. Yeah. So I got to go to the store.
Well, if you want the older son to have a good day, you should probably bring like a Taylor Swift with him because evidently the production's way different when Taylor's not at the stadium.
Apparently, I don't think it was that bad, but I hear. I know someone did ask me. So they're like, "You're gonna be Taylor?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be Jason's wife. She looks cool and she wears sweats.
So
That's
cool.
what I want to rock."
She is so cool. All right, Dianna, appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Real quick before I do this ad read, talked about Washington and Chase Young and Montez Sweat. I think you keep, if you can, those pieces around. Like, I know I've been back and forth on Chase Young because I think Chase Young's value has been overinflated and stated at different points. Like in the beginning, I thought he was, and this is a fan thing. It has nothing to do with Chase Young. He's doing the best he can. I thought that they were making him into this Nick Bosa guy, like because he had 8 sacks his rookie year. He didn't stay healthy for a little bit. He looks good now. He looks like a plus to me. I like the kid's work ethic. He seems like a great dude, and he plays his ass off. And Montez Sweat, most importantly, he's been the guy that gets the least attention on that defensive line from the public, but a guy who's been an absolute plus the past couple of years. If you're Washington and you're playing the long game, I like having a room full of those guys.
Yep.
You know, it's just
That's
me.
such a tough matchup as an O-line to go and play a defensive line with 1, 2, 3 deep. And like you said, when we went and played the Eagles in the double doink game, it wasn't about the double doink. It was about getting mismatched in the trenches.
Yeah, dude.
And that's how you can win football games in this
Yeah.
league.
Yeah.
There's multiple ways to skin a cat.
Yep.
You can have a world beater quarterback. You can have an unstoppable receiver. You can have a linebacker that's everywhere, or you can just flat out kick people's asses with D-line.
And you also have to know who you are as a team to make decisions appropriately, whether they're trades or additions. Like, you know, I always say, it's like with quarterbacks. If you have everything but that piece, develop a quarterback. One of the issues I've had with Desmond Ridder, not to bring him up again, is this team's playoff ready, but the quarterback's not playoff ready. You know, like know who you are and where you need to be, and sometimes that trumps the window for somebody you're interested in or have invested in. And so I think for Washington, not having a real identity, that's not a bad one to have, is having guys up front that can flat out play. There, you said multiple ways to skin a cat. There's only one way to drink beer, Kyle. Okay? Before we get into our Miller Lite moments, I have a word from our sponsors. Whatever you're looking forward to this football season, there's one thing that pairs well with every great moment, an ice-cold Miller Lite. Whether you're at the stadium playing fantasy football or watching the game at home or the bar, Miller Lite is here to make your football season taste like Miller time. From kickoff till the clock runs out, you can't go wrong with a Miller Lite in your hand. It's the only light beer with a taste worthy of our national obsession. That's football! Because what's the point of having a beer if it doesn't taste like, well, beer? It's got only 96 calories, 3.2 carbs per 12-ounce serving with a smooth taste and a crisp, clean finish. Kyle, I can drink this beer freely and still look like John Bastow. You get the taste you crave without the calories, so this season, crack open a light beer that hits your taste buds so hard, you feel it in your heart, Kyle.
It's like he's coming over here, dude.
Make it Miller time all season long. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/greenlight, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. And I find that to be true. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Hey, and
That's good stuff.
And Kyle, yeah, it's good. And Kyle, can I tell you something?
Wisconsin.
I got to admit something here.
What's up?
I like ice in my beer sometimes.
That's strange.
I had an OG in St. Louis, and he used to put ice in his beer when we go drink at the Ritz-Carlton Cigar Bar. And I tried it one time, and it was pretty good. Now, I know a lot of people off the Miller's probably not real happy with me right now, but I like putting a little ice in my beer sometimes.
No, it's responsible.
Responsible, dude. You're already drinking.
I don't know if I'm on board with this.
I kind of like a little ice in my beer, Kyle. Sometimes it's like an old guy thing to do.
It's like a country song.
Yeah.
Little ice in my beer.
No,
Is that what they
man.
say?
I don't know. I'm making it up.
Jason Aldean. Ice in my beer.
What do we got for our Miller Lite moments? Best flight.
Miller Lite moments here.
Where are we flying
I
this
got a
week?
best flight. It's the Cincinnati Bengals returning home from an ass whooping in the Bay Area. You know, they were at Levi Stadium. It was going to be a workman's day. Throw on those denims and get after them.
Denim.
So best flight, Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, yeah. Joe Burrow showed up in an alien mask. He's not of this world. Who's your best flight?
By the way, Terry Bradshaw yesterday called him Will Levi for a second. And I'm kind of like, that should stick.
Yeah.
Like, that dude should just dress in jean like Justin Timberlake
He needs
circa.
to gene into it.
Canadian tuxedos.
Yeah, Canadian tuxedos, deep balls, and denim. I'm telling you, it's got a ring to it.
I like
All
that.
right. So, Bevel Conway, before I get into, let's start with what you had, which is best flight.
Yeah.
I'll go. Listen, I am really partial to an 0-6 team getting a win. That's a lot of fun. It's like a big release. Okay, the plane ride's fun. I've been there. Jacksonville, I'm partial to getting out of the rain, getting warm after a cold day at the office, and a win, a physical football game. There's nothing more fun than drying off and getting on the plane, putting on some sweats, just you feel good, man. It's just that's what football is supposed to feel like on the way home. But maybe the best flight is the Jets. They didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
They just fucking won on the road. They ran right back into the other
home.
tunnel, and they Ubered home. Best Uber home. Let's go Jets.
I'm going to go worst flight, Kansas City Chiefs. And although the flight is all downhill, you know what I mean? When you're going from
it's
Denver
true.
to
It
Kansas
is.
City. So it's really
It's kind of scary.
They didn't even have to take off. They just were kind of downhill the whole
Get a
way.
big running start. And
You got to think that you feel that Patrick is not human. You think he is, he's a god. The numbers he's put up, the things he's done against the Broncos, the things he's done in this division. But obviously he wakes up with the flu, and he is human. He's not perfect, and neither are the Chiefs. Worst flight, Kansas City Chiefs.
Kyle, I'm checking the turbulence forecast, which I do sometimes before flights. And yesterday it was smooth sailing out there on the prairie. I kind of think with weather like that, the threat of a low pressure system and some change in the weather, that there might be turbulence, but maybe it was okay. Okay, worst flight, I'll go the Rams. It's all over. I mean, it's the worst when you come out and you're like, all right, maybe we'll be all right, and you talk yourself into believing as a team, and then you go to Dallas. It's an NFC elite. You're coming off of a tough loss at home where you got jobbed on a call, but also you probably felt like you should have beat the Steelers, and you get boat raced in Dallas, and that's the worst. You got to drive, worst bus ride, the Rams. You got to drive like 1.5 miles under the surface of the earth to get into Jerry's World. It's the wildest thing in the world. Kyle, did you play there?
I did.
Where you go in a tunnel and you're like, oh, we're at the stadium, and it's dark for like
It's like
6
the subway
minutes
system in New York.
to get under
There's
that
a city down here.
fucking monstrosity, and you
That's
got
what
to
happens when you get into Grand Central.
Yes.
it's like that. And
There's
then
100 restaurants underground. There's a mall.
what's wrong with restaurants underground, Kyle?
You
I'm
go down
hungry
there
when-
and there's just like so much going on. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. For those of us who are not city slickers, if you go to New York, you go underground. There's like a subterranean society
yeah.
happening.
Yeah, well, there's subterranean society happening in Dallas, and then when you poke your head out, you got to walk through all these drunk Cowboys fans in the club level to get out to your you're literally inside of a glass hallway, and people are just like, "Fuck you, man!" And then you go out there, and they got F-350s spinning around on like fucking platforms, and cheerleaders dancing all over the place.
Hairspray.
The cheerleaders are where the snipers are supposed to be. I'm looking out for cheerleaders up here. There's a fucking giant jumbotron. It's 3 billion tons. It could fall on you at any point.
Man.
I hate playing in that stadium. And then when you lose, you got the same bus ride out.
You know what the cool thing about Jerry's World is? They have those dugout suites that are recessed. And when I played, it was a Monday. I think we played a Monday night game against the Cowboys, and we ran the fuck out of the ball. But Dad came to the game, and he was in that dugout suite right behind the end zone. And we got down there. We were on the 5-yard line. You break the huddle. You look over there, and he's like giving you the thumbs up. You're like, I'm sorry, 3 technique. You're about to take a ride.
Yeah, because Dad's here.
My old man's in town.
Yeah, there's nothing. But he'd do the whistle. He'd do the whistle. Anytime, youth sports, anything. It could be an empty gym. I'm like, oh, God, Dad's whistling at me. What's he want to
It's a big
say?
moment in the
He'd do
game.
it even in the pros if he was in one of those suites.
Quick worst flight, Colorado. Taking that flight from UCLA back to Colorado and finding out right before you get on the plane that your diamond chain or diamond earrings have been stolen.
That was my fly on the wall. It's like, how the fuck does that happen? That's got to be
Calculated.
an inside job.
Calculated, and we're waiting on this. These guys, they flash these watches and these.
Is this
these
like the
chains
equivalent
every
of
week.
going to the club with like 15 Cuban links and just
100%.
asking for it to get snatched? It's
Well-
the same thing they've been doing.
Almost.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary, but it's one of those things for UCLA, you have some explaining to do because it's me and my team, we're coming to play here. We should know that at the very least our belongings are safe for 2 hours in your locker room.
Yeah, no question.
California,
that
can't
sucks.
trust them.
California is a crazy state.
Yeah, it is.
Can't trust them.
Crazy state, dude. Okay, Bevel Conway, because before we get to all that other stuff, listen, you had the Oilers, you had the Seattle
All the
uniforms, all of them, dude. And then Pat's Dolphins, man. Pat's Dolphins is gorgeous. I love watching games out of that stadium. It's always sunny. It's a grass field.
Dolphins end zones were elite.
Dolphins end zones. They look awesome in that setup. I don't know what your Bevel Conway was, but my anti
Same.
is
All the throwbacks. That's what I wrote.
Anti-bevel is going to be the color rushes tonight. The Detroit is rolling out. Like
Is that gray? Are they wearing
it's
gray?
just they're wearing the all gray with like a blue helmet. It's going to be hideous. It's gonna
My anti-Bevel Conway's Washington.
Washington,
Philadelphia.
Philly. You don't like that?
There's something about that Washington.
Something
Like a month and a
combination.
half too early. That red and green.
It just does it. It's just gross. I'm just not into it. And it's not even so much the Eagles, but we were spoiled with the Kelly Green, and then we get this combination.
Yeah. Hollow Man. Yeah, how could it not be me? Maybe Eberflus for the rap and tackle fucking lecture I got. Meg actually, she knew I had a lot of money on the game before she went to bed. Like I was just in there doing the thing. You know when you're really down bad in anything, there's like a moment where you want your mommy.
Yeah.
Like I kind of had that moment last night, and I was just like, everything that went wrong was like, what? Oh, that's not fair. Meg, she's over there just reading some shit on her phone. She's got to act like she cares. Maybe she should, but like she went to bed and she's like, I'm sorry.
She'll care here eventually.
I'm like,
when Chase is at it for too long.
she's going to bed. Eberflus is talking about rapping and tackle. Meg's like, what the fuck? So I mean, like maybe Eberflus, man. How do you get beat by the Chargers, man? That's what they're supposed to do. Is they're supposed to look terrible. Anyways,
You sound like Tony Soprano.
Kyle, you got
Yeah.
a follow now?
I got a hollow man.
Probably
Sky,
lost
Sky
about as
Moore.
much as Soprano.
It's selfish. It's selfish. It's a Sky Moore pick, but I just think in that moment you give Patrick an opportunity to throw that touchdown on 4th and 2.
catch the ball, bud.
You catch that ball, it's a different ball game. Maybe
You win that game.
Maybe you steal this one in
Yeah,
Denver, and
yeah.
that's what great teams do. Great teams.
But here's what's
steal
fucked
wins.
up. There were a couple hollow men on that team. I mean, the muff punt was just
They're
as bad.
all
It was
they're
even
all bad.
worse.
They
It
all
was-
they all took
Hollow men.
credit for it too. They all did a good job
Yeah.
after the game taking credit for it. But they know.
Also, by the way, just because you're talking about it, I was watching Justin Reed after the game. What a great post game interview. Justin Reed is such a sharp guy and also so accountable, and was so
Stanford, right?
all his answers were so informative, but also like negative. Like they were negative, but he put a positive spin on it and was very. I mean, I just want to shout him out. And the Chiefs, to your point, they haven't been here before, not in 8 years, but they've been here after tough losses. They'll be fine. Okay, fly on the wall. I said Colorado, and then also everybody who wanted Kirk. I think every GM that's got an eye on some player this weekend, it's so interesting to me, them watching the way things unfold. Like we talked about, Tennessee wins the game. Oh, fuck, now I got to send even more over for Derrick Henry. Or Kirk Cousins gets hurt. Maybe there was an outside chance of him moving, things like that. So I think it's really interesting to think about GMs watching football this weekend and what they're doing now.
Fly on the wall would be Will Levis's ex-girlfriend watching the Titans.
That's my best seat.
watching the Titans
Hey.
with
Somebody give him
Morgan Wallen.
Fuck, we're great minds think alike. Poor girl.
Poor girl.
Yeah,
She left him.
she did.
Good for him.
She definitely
oh my
sent
God.
that.
I don't know. I liked her, Kyle.
Can you imagine being Will Levis, waking up this morning and just like your Instagram is popping, your Twitter's popping in Nashville? Like,
Hey,
these
why are you
people-
saying good for him? What if he misses her, bro?
might miss
that's
her.
this is the perfect get back.
Yeah.
From what I heard, and I'm not going to divulge all of it, but she made a decision. There was a
You could bring her
decision
back
made.
into the fold and do a
Can't bring her
two
back.
quarterback system.
Can't bring her back into
But
the
Kyle,
fold.
You got to be Will Levis.
You have to put
get,
your foot down.
Hey Big Head, the Hey Big Head DM or text is coming.
No,
It's
100%
coming.
no.
I liked her, Kyle.
Yeah.
I thought there was
A lot of
potential
people
there.
liked her, I think, but the issue is that Will Levis has elevated his game.
What if she does?
He's
what,
on to bigger and better things.
What if she
okay?
does the whipped cream? What if
Chris,
No, I'm just saying.
bonk.
No. I'm just saying he left her. Yeah, you're right, Kyle. She's probably feeling shitty right now.
Apparently,
He's in Nashville.
she went down to Nashville and found a new boyfriend.
Did she really?
Yeah,
She's a homie
You
hopper.
didn't hear this?
Oh boy.
Man, allegedly, that's like what the Redditors are saying, that potentially some country music artists are potentially friends with her.
You
now.
get the Luke
Reed's-
Combs. You get
So
that
my-
Luke-
Reed's
so
favorite
really,
guy.
that's what I'm saying. My
Reed's
fly
favorite artist.
on the wall is wherever she's at, watching with some artist, and this guy, like somebody's losing money because Will Levis is dominating.
She's watching with one
we've
of
seen
these.
this artist perform in the club too?
What?
Who?
the
Which one?
artist you're talking about?
Which one?
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah. We did?
Yeah. We didn't even know it.
Oh, I tuned it out.
down
I'm sure.
in.
I
no.
thought it was like some band they hired.
No, at Super Bowl week.
Morgan Wallen is actually a rapper. He's not a country artist.
That's Jason Aldean.
Same. They all rap.
They're all the same. They're all the same. Okay.
Best seat in the house. I'm going to give you this. This is also known as the Donna Kelsey Award.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
You know, it should-
Oh, it's great. I don't have another best seat in the house.
Justin Fields hanging out in Los Angeles.
That was great. That was great.
We talked about it earlier. I'm not sure what Justin Fields' vices are, and I'm not going to try to assume.
I don't think he has any.
But if you're a young guy and you're hanging out and you're getting paid millions of dollars and you're not being asked to play because you're on the mend and you know they have to get his health taken care of, you go to LA, you have a great dinner. There's no curfew. You play on a Sunday night game. You get an opportunity to go, maybe have some camaraderie, buy your teammates a nice dinner in Los
I'd be
Angeles.
higher than a giraffe's
There
ass.
are guys on that Bears team who have never been in Southern California. They get to go with their guy, Justin, who has his guard let down. Best seat in the house.
Just like you said, not in Southern California. I don't trust it. I would be scared to go out there being an NFL player
I'd
only
be
there
smoking
for a night.
moon rocks.
Exactly.
out
I
there.
would find
in my
nice,
hotel room. People talk about what are you gonna do when you get to LA. I'm
be
gonna
in my
get
hotel
so
room.
stoned, and I'm gonna look out the window at the palm trees and order a movie, especially when I have to play.
No,
Oh.
it's really getting stoned and ordering room service, bro.
Oh.
The fucking room service ice cream that you can get, bro, it's top notch.
And the whole room smells like fries. The whole stay there.
Yeah.
Because you got to put it out in the hall.
All right, so you got a best seat?
That's. I don't
How about
really have
do
one.
Urban Meyer watching this whole Michigan thing?
Urban
go
Meyer
on?
watching this whole Michigan thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
We're going STL Memorial now.
Yes.
Deron Bland, 3 pick sixes, most by Cowboy ever, leads NFL. I talked about it earlier, but that's just wild.
Also, it's so funny with the Cowboys. Their injury, we said it when it happened. You can survive this because you have Deron Bland, and you also, in some situations, might get better in coverage because Trayvon takes a lot of chances, and Deron Bland, the chances he's been taking have been paying off. He also made a big play down in the low red on a screen to keep that game where it needed to be for them to jump out on top of those guys. I'm talking because I have no idea who I want to be my STL Memorial. STL Memorial. By the way, the Bills, that backdoor cover was excruciating Thursday night.
You had a rough night.
Rough week. Okay, luckily all my props hit because I knew Josh Allen was good. By the way, we're going to talk about the Bills coming in next Sunday night. They decided last week. I don't know if Josh decided, but like I'm going to tuck the ball and fucking run. I'm going to look like
they're at their best.
that's when they're at their best. Okay, STL Memorial. Maybe I'll give it to Nobody's watching. Nobody's watching. Nobody's watching. What game was nobody watching? I don't know. Fuck, dude. I watched them all. Lost money on them all.
Adam Thielen was nice for the Panthers.
Good. Adam Thielen. Nice for the Panthers.
Way to go, Adam. Game ball. It's going to be a shared game ball.
Game
It's going to be
ball.
in Tennessee. There's going to be 2 hands on it. Both hands look different.
Mm-hmm.
One is DeAndre Hopkins and one is Will Levis.
And they're just both touching the ball.
It's like a unity poster.
All right, I'm gonna give the game ball to I'm gonna give the game ball, Kyle, to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I mean, just picked them apart. Looked like the Joe Burrow of old. People do not go into that stadium and win. You know, San Francisco not only won but covered a bunch over the last.
We beat them in their first game ever. at
Did you
Levi's
there?
Stadium.
Yeah,
Jay Cutler.
I can't remember. Patriots, we beat them too.
I
But
forget
it
who
was the
their
Patriots,
quarterback
not
was.
fair.
I think it was Kaepernick. At the
Yeah,
time.
we beat Cap. We're 2-0 against
But
Cap.
he was really
at that
good.
stadium.
He was really good.
Yeah, I got him when he wasn't as good. It was like
I just remember he ran
2016.
around everywhere and we
Yeah.
couldn't stop him.
The Caps' first game I was on the field for that. It was crazy. All right, so yeah, we've got the MVPs in. Nate, viral moment of the week.
Yeah, my viral moment of the week is going to
Patrick Mahomes.
Flavor Flav.
Oh, what did he do?
He was, I don't know if he was hired or if it was some type of appearance, but Flavor Flav sung the national anthem to start one of the Milwaukee Bucks basketball games, and it's absolutely priceless. Start to finish, Flavor Flav, one of the most iconic hip-hop superstars, and to see him do this, I don't know
He was
how.
singing.
Yes. And
Did he
as
sound good?
Like actually trying to sing.
he doesn't sound good, but I can say this. he's not the worst. He's not the worst person to
No,
be
the
in this
worst
spot.
person was that little girl in the 90s. That
Exactly.
guy came over and put his arm
The
around.
coach had to help her
By the
finish
way,
it.
so it would have been funny if a coach came over and put his arm around Flavor Flav. That did like a.
But he
full-
got during the singing when people kind of I feel like realized he was being serious.
Look at
he
the
kinda
Boy Scouts.
He took a little
Man
run.
Scouts.
He took a little run, and people kind of cheered for it for a little bit. So
Dude,
Flavor Flav. How do you get there?
The man scouts, as you called them, the guys, they looked unhappy with Flavor Flav singing the national anthem.
Not big fans.
Not big fans. Making a
This
mockery.
isn't how we do it at the Troop.
no.
Milwaukee.
and shout out to Flavor Flav for being one of the first people with Flavor of Love for like the reality
No, I know.
style love shows.
Didn't you think Hoops? You think he took Hoops down? Wasn't Hoops on that
Oh,
show?
like all those girls, I feel like. Yeah, she
Flavor
was one of the
Flav.
Flavor of Love, yo. That's funny. You remember
Shaq had to
Hoops.
follow Hoops, or had to follow Flavor Flav.
Flav.
That's tough assignment.
I can't believe that you watched that or you
Big
still
shoes
remember
to
that
fill.
stuff.
That was before I had kids, so I watched garbage
Better
TV.
wear
at the
size
time.
23.
Yeah,
Oh, man. Great
25
show.
maybe?
I don't know.
What's Shaq's shoe size?
I don't know.
24.
but
21, I think.
Or 22.
I heard an interview.
You
the other
have
day.
to come correct.
He was talking about his weight when he played. He was like, I was 250 when I got in the league. I was 290 when I won my, and then I was 450, and then I went to Pat Riley, and Pat Riley was like, "You fat fuck."
You got to fix this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Monday Night
Poor
Football preview. Poor girl. My phone just died, or my laptop just died. But here's what I'll tell you about the Raiders and the Lions. Okay, and yeah, right now I'm Chase Long, but I got the Raiders +8. I do still think the Lions are playing left-handed. If Montgomery's out, which I believe he is, I read out. Okay, so I hope it's true because
I'm on the
that's
Lions.
yeah. Well, you got to take the icky side, Kyle. You know, you got to take the icky side. I think the Raiders might make this close. The total is 46. Give me like 24-17. Okay.
I just think the strength of the Raiders doesn't match up well with the strength of the Lions.
What is the
and that's
strength of the
front.
Raiders?
I'm talking about their
Max
runs.
Crosby.
Yeah.
That's it.
In a roundabout way, I'm
Yeah.
saying Max Crosby's going to have more capable traffic cones.
I would love to see Max Crosby kicking over and rushing Sewell and see what happens because I think they're both great.
I say Max Crosby on an anytime touchdown. How about that? Defensive touchdown. You
Watch
make
you
that
laugh
face.
now.
You make that face now.
Okay. You got
That was
one.
fun.
Hey, the guy likes to show up in big games.
What? Oh, I got one more ad read. Little Caesars. Okay.
Pizza.
So I'm going to leave the show on an ad read. It's going to be the best of the day. Okay. Monday is still game day, and game day is the perfect pizza day. So make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL part of your game day. Order online during our Pizza pregame 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day Sunday to have your NFL game day cover. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. It's a pizza win. And speaking of winning, everybody scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends if you have some friends. Order your Little Caesars and enjoy during the games. Pizza, Kyle. And happy hunting tonight and Thursday. Kyle, I'm watching the screen right now. You look fucking huge compared to me. It is incredible how big you are compared to me. People talk about Hall of Fame genetics over here. I mean, look at me.
It's one of those
Look like a
tricks.
fucking
It's a camera trick.
data analyst. Kyle looks like my henchman.
It's a camera trick.
Kyle, will you go to Vegas and just go in the sports books and intimidate them so they give me my money back?
Only thing I'm doing if I go to Vegas is going to that Sphere.
Oh, we gotta go to the Sphere, Kyle.
Gotta go. That shit looks so awesome.
We gotta go to the Sphere.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care, y'all.
Thanks.